that we were talking about Cocomelon for like the past, I'm not even joking, 50 minutes. And the best transition that's just been eating away at me is, Yamato's melons. Let's go.
Yeah. And hey, I could segue you even harder. Inuarashi has a melon kidnapping problem. All the melons are being kidnapped across his
Melons.
region.
Oh, like heads?
Women? They have melons?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Women have melons. Yeah.
Wait,
sorry.
what you meant with Yamatos? You
No,
literally said
I was there with Yamato, but when you say like melons in a generalized sense, I'm like, wait, what?
Oh, you don't call women
by their body parts? No, I don't. But believe it or not, Par, I don't do that. Outside of jokes in One Piece, I'm pretty normal. I like to think.
I couldn't even keep up that bit. That
like imagine you walk into a store, you see somebody, like guy, female, whatever, and you call them legs because they have legs. Hey, what's up, legs? Well, imagine calling Inuarashi that because he's missing a leg. That'd be kind of sick.
Is he? Maybe I'm like,
what's up?
Dementia, but like, is his leg a katana?
Yeah.
Did we ever see that? Oh, it is. Okay.
That was one of his final attacks on Jack, actually.
I couldn't remember the cat.
Nekomamushi has the sword arm.
Yeah, sword arm. No, I thought
gun arm, right?
Yeah.
It was a catling. Catling gun.
Ooh.
Yeah, you like that.
And so Inuarashi has a dog Tana.
Hey, that works too. Dog Tana, yeah.
So wait, which fight did he use that in?
What, Nekomamushi?
No, the leg sword thing. Because
he used it against Jack actually.
In the first fight?
Or in Onigashima. Yeah, second fight. Yeah. It was, I remember because he used the sword leg to like kick him out of the window. Like the Japanese screen. I don't know what to call it, but yeah.
They lost their limbs from Jack the first time. Yeah. Then they were recovering. Jack used the poison. Then the Strawhats came in, right? And then they saved they pushed Jack off or whatever, or like Jack left or something like whatever.
Yeah, Jack left and then he came back and then he died.
And then Onigashima's when they got to get their comeback with they're like, haha, you cut off our limbs, but we're gonna fight you back with them, with the weapons. Gotcha. I was like, when did he use that?
If you had to get one, like, would you rather have the dog Tana or the Catling gun?
I would definitely. I think Blade is a lot more functional because, like, you have to like maintain a gun. You have to clean
but for a leg, though.
For a leg,
like you kind of be like stubbly.
I think for a leg, I think a katana makes more sense, right? Because you wouldn't want like to constantly jam up the gun on the ground, right?
Wait,
you have to put like my body weight. You're saying if I want to, gun arm?
Yeah. Sorry, so I should have specified gun arm or sword leg.
Gotcha. So do I get a leg versus an arm?
Yeah. It's a hard one. I think I'd go with the arm just because I'd want that mobility. I feel like I wouldn't be able to adapt to the dog Tana.
You'd want the dog. Wait, so you'd want the?
I'd want the cat arm, the Catling gun arm.
Okay. I'm actually leaning towards the dog Tana because, like, like the Paralympics where the running stuff happens and then they just have and then they like run insanely fast because it's like they don't have a leg, but like it's still like it does the job. So like, you can still run, and like I feel like maybe I could do that, but like if you're missing a hand and then it's a gun, I feel like I'm just gonna end up shooting people on accident.
Well, I mean, if you have the safety on, it should be fine. It would be like Barret out of Final Fantasy VII if you ever played that.
Yeah, and then also, again, with the maintenance, right? Like, you'd have to maintain the gun and stuff like that. But I guess, like, but then it's like, would I rather have a leg or an arm, right? Yeah. And then, like, in the arm situation, I could swap out the gun for a katana, right? Like, that's not a...
Yeah, I guess you could, yeah. Unless, like, somebody casts a spell on you to where you can only have that Gatling arm.
Yeah, kind of like Crocodile, who only can have a poisoned hook. Oh, he has a hand.
Yeah, Crocodile has his hand. He just has, like, this attachment on it where it's like a hook.
Forget. Yeah, because he's like... He's just silly about it, but yeah, he has two hands.
Dude, there's gonna be some backstory that we get where we find out why Crocodile loves the hook. Like imagine like a crocodile, like, I don't know, he has like a lover, some dead lover, and she got killed on that hook. They hanged her up to dry, and he said, you know what, I'm gonna wear that hook from now on.
Yeah, and then make it poisonous.
Yeah, to show how much I love that person.
How toxic this relationship was.
Yeah, something like that.
You had me hook, line, and sinker in this relationship.
The crocodile backstory is going to go hard. I feel like we're going to get it. I know people are like, oh, like we don't need backstories for every character, but for Crocodile, they've already teased it. So I feel like we're going to get it eventually. Yeah,
we do also like the whole thing with the live action with like however that substantiated Croco woman theory. Like Oda is putting shenanigans in places where it's like, bro, we didn't even need these shenanigans. People before you ever made female crocodile in the SBS or whatever. I'm pretty sure that theory existed, and then so it's like Oda was just like, there's people who think crocodile's a woman.
I forgot about that. Yeah. So we had a female crocodile in the live action during Roger's execution, and then they just casted the male counterpart for Crocodile. So it's like Oda works with the live action. Like he's literally there. That's why he's taken so many breaks. He's talked about it before. He loves the casting, dude. Yeah, Crocodile's a woman at that point. I mean, I don't think that's a crazy theory. Some people hate it, but it's like, like when you think about Crocodile's relationship to Ivankov and what Crocodile doesn't want Ivankov to say, what else would it be? Like, that's the one thing Ivankov's known for.
Yeah. And then to clarify, we both are still the Croco mom. Yeah,
Croco mom. No. I disavow that one.
Yeah.
But Crocodile being a woman, then becoming a guy, or vice versa, whatever have you.
Yeah, like the version where like Crocodile is a woman at Roger's execution, and so it's like, oh, how did Roger's will pass on to Luffy? Luffy was in the womb. Dragon and Crocodile are both there, but separate in the crowd, and they just finished conceiving Luffy, so that Luffy was. No, Luffy, the will of D passed into Dragon.
Oh my god!
From there, so that's why the will of D was so strong in Luffy's, because both mom and dad were present. Oh, I feel like I haven't even heard that
never heard anybody go that route.
Oh god, now we're gonna get some people on Twitter just like randomly spawning. Oh my god, isn't it crazy that both Luffy's parents were at the execution?
Isn't it insane?
And then everyone's like, wait, what? And then like you go down the thread and it's saying Crocodile's Luffy's mom still, and it's like, oh my god.
I always forget like how Croco mom even spawned. I think somebody said it's because, okay, I remember now. It was at Marineford. They were like, yo, right when Crocodile heard that Luffy was Dragon's son, the switch flipped, and it's like, well, yeah, it's always been flipped ever since Impelled Down, but sure, you could spin it that way too.
It was also the thing about like Oda describing Luffy's parents, like in SBS or something, saying like, oh, next volume is gonna come up, and it was like talking about Dragon. But like, and then later on, I think he said like, oh, if Luffy had a mom, it'd be jet black hair, etc., and that's like the only descriptor. And then people are like,
Crocodile has black hair. It's done.
Yeah, it's like
it's set in stone, guys. It's over. Yeah, stop the votes.
And then you just like look at like literally at the most generic person in the background. Yeah. To me, it's like the Holy Knight in the background of Figarland at God Valley. I'm like, yo, jet black hair and that girl. That one, the cool looking girl.
The one chick. Right? Yeah. People look at that girl, and because she's behind Garling, people are assuming that that's Shanks' mom. So it's funny how this happens, right? I don't think this is completely like, born from lunatics. I think it's born from people who want that backstory so hard that these theories spawn. And I can't hate it, because it's like eventually we'll probably learn about Shanks' parents. Eventually we'll learn about Crocodile. So I could see people like grasping at it for that reason.
And
so I
even
can't like
Luffy's
hate
mom.
it. And Luffy's mom, right?
Yeah, we're gonna get that. We just might. It might like is it gonna be like Banshina, like Usopp's mom, or is it gonna be like Rouge, where you get like one panel and that panel's like super sick, versus like Usopp's mom, it was like she was literally sick and not like super sick, in a cool way, or it could be like Dadan, it could be like, but the thing is like the nuance of it is it's kind of like it's going like the Rouge route, it's going the like Kushina.
Sorry, when you said Rouge, I automatically thought of Rouge, like the Mad Monk, and I was like, wait, what? Like, when you met his mom? What's going on here?
Ace's mom.
Ace's mom.
Like Naruto's mom, Ace's mom, Luffy's mom, same story, right? Because like Luffy doesn't remember having parents, right? So
yeah,
and obviously he was with the Don and Garp, so it's like there has to be some kind of tragic, like that's obvious, at that point, And then Oda has said like basically I always bring up this thing, but this is one of my favorite. I think the timing of when I stumbled upon it was really cool, because when I stumbled upon it, then Oda started reflecting it. But like in 2018, he said like, oh, the thing I want to talk about the most is like Garp. I want to show Garp and the Revs and all the Marines, and named like Akainu and Smoker, and he said all these things, and then he tied it to Dragon, and then he said, well, I can explain all that stuff because it all ties to Luffy. And then and Luffy's like origin or his birth. He said like Luffy's birth story is gonna be super cool or something like that. And then when I read it, it was like maybe 2, 3, or a year and a half ago or something like that. And then we started getting the Garp like in Hachinosu and all that stuff, and it was like super cool. But Oda saying that and subtly describing Luffy's mom, and obviously the way the story's going, like we're 100% gonna see.
Yeah, he's already got it planned out. Yeah, I mean, I feel like once we learn about Dragon, it's gonna be set. Like, especially when Dragon said, oh, yeah, like, Luffy's my weakness. It's like, yeah, we're going to get an explanation as to why. Probably, like, it's probably going to be something like, oh, like, Luffy reminds me of her, or something like that.
Speaking about Parenthood and stuff like that, how do you feel about Inuarashi just absolving his role as the Duke of Mokomo Dukedom, only to become the daimyo? Like, he's just like, oh, I'm out of here, peace. And then he's just like, I'm done with these animals, they're so hard to deal with. And then he's just like, people are so much better. And then like, I don't know,
yeah, Wano citizens are so much better than the animals of Zou.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny because I thought he was like retired, I thought he was just chilling like a dog, you know what I mean?
I gotta say, that's a big title, though. The Daimyo of Curry. Like, that's Odin, dude. That was Odin.
It's a huge one. Yeah.
Like, it didn't go to Kinemon. It didn't go to Denjiro. No, dude, that's freaking Inuarashi.
Yeah, straight. And the thing is, like, he's getting it in the same... Oh, and then it was also Ashura Doji, technically, too. Where once Odin left or died, left the life,
left his corporeal dimension. Rest in peace.
I was like, yeah, he did leave.
Rest in peace, man.
But yeah, once and the Ashura Doji kind of took over as like a shadow leader, kind of the mountain bandits leader, and then he died too, and then now Inuarashi has it, and I'm like, he's not getting an easy life. Like, I don't think
No, I think it's so easy. Brothers eating onigiri on the beach. The guy's like Joe Biden. It's like, is he even a politician? Like, what is he doing? Where is he?
And meanwhile, his like, constituents are getting kidnapped. Like,
yeah, people are getting kidnapped. Dude, people are working on Odin Castle. He's over here eating onigiri. He's not even helping.
Now we know who they're building. Oh, wait, maybe that's like Minatomo left. He's like, I ain't building for a dog. What are you talking about?
Oh, Minatomo's racist. You're right. He's like, you're telling me this is my leader? It's a dog.
Yeah, because the thing is, I brought this up and I was like, damn, he has a huge come up because when he first landed on Wano, he was being executed on the shore.
Yeah, now he's a leader.
Yeah, he went from executed monster, and the thing is, at that timeline, it's like, yeah, that's what people believed in it. Minatomo is older, so he might have been one of the people on the coast.
Yeah, you think Minatomo remembers the good days? Like, we almost killed that damn fish, cat, and dog, but Odin had to save him.
Yeah. And now he has to build a castle for him. He's like, I'm not building for this dog. What are you talking about?
Wait, here's a good question, Par. Like,
what?
Okay, imagine you've worked at a job for 40 years, right? You're an engineer, and then one day, the higher-ups, the CEO of the company says, hey, we're going to have a change in management. And then they bring in the person who's supposed to lead you and your team. and it's a walking, talking dog. Would you be okay with that? would you be okay with that? Would you follow the dog?
Yes, Sai. Thank you for the hypothetical. Where Par, would you want to work on the only walking, talking dog in existence? Like there's no. I guess that's what their experience is.
Yeah, Wano's a closed country. They don't know that minks exist. Like outside of Inuarashi, Nekomamushi, and Kawamatsu, like are there more of these things?
You're right. No, but to be fair, okay, so but the thing is, Inuarashi and Nekomamushi have like history with Wano. So like when Minatomo saw him like become a scabbard, and stuff like that, and okay,
so let's say Minatomo doesn't keep up with the news, just like you. Like we have no idea about this guy's existence. We haven't been keeping up with with CNN.
Minatomo, I might be as
you might be a Minatomo.
No, you know what? I would give it a shot.
You'd give it a shot. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't
what if? How about this? I'm spicing it up. What if whenever you have to use the bathroom, you go to a regular bathroom, but for Inuarashi, there's a dog pad in the middle of the workplace that he just pees on. Whenever there's a lunch break, he actually eats kibble.
I thought you were gonna say like he had to pick up his outside. Like he doesn't do it like a normal dog doesn't pick up after this. He's just like that. He doesn't know how to use a toilet. He's a walking, talking dog, but he has all the facilities of a normal dog. I mean, if I were to say, right, the dog pad in the middle of the workroom was a no for me, then a normal dog would be a normal no for me, right? Like I've lived with roommates that got a dog and they had to dog train them, and that dog missed the pee pad so many times, and we didn't kick the dog out.
They don't work, dude. Dude, pee pads, I don't know, man. Whenever I've seen somebody with a pee pad in their house, I'm like, dude, that dog's gonna go everywhere else but the pee pad, man.
It worked eventually, but like you just have to resolve yourself for it to not work at the start. Like I think because like me, I was thinking about it like, okay, like you have the pee pad, but we gotta have like some kind of like boundaries so that it doesn't pee like on the couch that we can't clean and stuff like that. And then like, oh, surprise, the dog peed on the couch that we couldn't clean. And then they're like, oh, why is the dog not? The dog's like 4 months, dude. Like, of course he's not peeing on the pee pad. A baby needs a diaper, and the diaper's on the baby. If you take that diaper off, they're peeing everywhere, bro. I literally was sitting with my son 20 months, and we were having a grand old time. And then, like, I just changed his diaper, and we were playing with blocks, and then I noticed while we were playing, he peed. And I'm like, that's rude. We were having a great time, and you're telling me while we were talking, you peed yourself? And it's not a problem. I wasn't mad at my son. I was just kind of like, it's kind of like I'm talking to Sai right now, and just imagine, because I can't see the lower half, imagine you just peeing. Like, imagine you guys are just watching.
Hey, already did it.
Yeah, we're just, like, that
already took care of business.
Yeah, because like my son is like conversational now, so we were having a conversation, and then like I look down and you see the blue line on his diaper change color, or the yellow line change color, and I'm like, we're having a grown-up conversation, and that just ruined it. Now I remember you're a baby.
Yeah, like, thank God Inuarashi isn't like that though, and this is One Piece, right?
Yeah.
So as far as Inuarashi goes, like, he's worried about the kidnappings, right? It says it's weighing heavily on his mind. If it's weighing heavily, don't you think he'd be out, like, looking for the women and the kidnappers? I don't know, like, the kidnapper subplot, like, I'm invested in it, but at the same time, I'm like, it doesn't make that much sense yet. And also, it's like, yo, we got the Scabbards here, Yamato's here. We have a Scabbard in, like, each region, essentially. And then Momonosuke has the same powers as Kaido. Momonosuke could fly around Wano. Because that's what Kaido did, right? Like, Kaido literally flew from point A to point B and just hanged around. It was his party zone, dude. Like, I feel like if Momonosuke really wanted to, like, you know, put 100% effort in, he could fly around Wano and just find out what the hell's happening.
Yeah, like, the thing is, like, crime in Wano was a lot easier to do in Kaido's world because he was a criminal and he kind of accepted that. What you couldn't do was be like Robin Hood, right? And in that vein, like Ashura Doji and Denjiro, like Denjiro was the Robin Hood who ended up blaming it on like Zoro and other people and stuff like that. Well, not purposely, but he was doing that. And like, but you think about the level like Denjiro was insane. Ashura Doji being the Curry like leader, it's like he has to be strong. And yeah, my God, he was one of the strongest Scabbards, if not like outside of like plot, he should have been like the strongest, right?
Yeah,
because he had actual 20 years of like besides him
training and fighting. Kaido wanted Ashura Doji on the crew,
right? And so it's like Ashura Doji be doing what he did in Kaido's Wano just tells you how insane he has to be. But being a criminal in Momo's Wano is almost equally crazy because like yeah, there's Yamato, a dragon, and like they're like are they not enforcing the laws? Because Kaido wasn't enforcing the laws. He didn't care as long as you weren't stealing from him. But if you were doing dastardly shit like this, like it wasn't a big problem unless like he's basically like, if you're doing like that, just do it with my name. Like what are you doing? Like just become a beast pirate at that point. And that's what he wanted. And like if you want to kidnap women, it's like, yeah, sure, just do it as a beast pirate. Why brother, why are you doing it the hard way?
And the thing with Momonosuke's Wano is that you could say, oh, like there's less, pirates here, not too many people to enforce the rules. But the thing with Momonosuke's Wano is that they have the samurai back. Like all the samurai have their swords, they're trained up, they can fight. So it's like the minute you see a kidnapper, like, yeah, I don't know. Like it's hard to be one just for like and across the board.
I don't get why, again, like, so like, right, because of this panel, the person who's perpetuating this kidnapping thing, there, to me, like, is it like an Ashura Doji? Is it like a Denjiro level character? Because that makes no sense. Where were they? How did they get here? I mean, like, we talked about it being a foreign person, like a warlord or like a Yonko person, a connected character. But like, right now, I'm like, why is Yamato better in solving this problem than Inuarashi, a dog?
Yeah, because Yamato's going to solve it, right?
I mean, it's weighing heavily on his mind, and if he's not able to, I'm not trying to be racist here, but like, he's a dog. Can he sniff out can he follow the scent of the people being kidnapped? Like
he goes up to like the missing like girls' house and he's like, "Yo, give me some panties, I'll sniff them out real quick."
Straight up.
Like that would be such a goofy gag, and it's kind of One Piece in a way. Like he should be able to do that.
Maybe that's what happens now. Like Inurashi's just like, I don't know how to solve this, and Yamato's just like, don't worry, I got the or something.
You know how they say,
you just start sniffing.
He like just starts sniffing everywhere. No. You know how they say like your foot is connected to all your sensory organs? Yeah, maybe like by losing his left foot, he can't smell anymore.
Nah, that doesn't work for dogs. Like, come on, come on. Like, and the thing is, okay, let's take this for him. Let's take the scent part away, right? Like, even if it, like, Yamato has the wolf thing. Oh, maybe that's why they're together. The wolf and the dog.
Wolf and dog. Okay, wait a minute. We're cooking. You know what? I mean, to be fair, I don't like watch a lot of videos about the One Piece cover page story, but maybe we're the first person that's ever come up with this idea.
Yeah.
Yamato and Inuarashi use their dog noses and camaraderie to find the kidnappers.
Yeah, this is a subplot where they become like the dog detective duo of Wano, and they solve it. And that's the thing, right? Like what issue, right? Because the other part, let's take away the scent. Let's just say that Yamato is able to solve it without the thing. I mean, obviously, like, my thing also is like Yamato's never ever shown us that she has like insane smelling abilities despite the thing. And yeah, you don't need to have that set up or whatever. But it's like, she's plenty strong enough to deal with whatever problem. And if he's not, and like Yamato's like stronger than him, and Yamato's strength is required, I'm like, who the hell are they fighting? And
exactly.
The deterrent for the idea of the dog duo thing is like, who the hell do we need for Inuarashi and Yamato?
The thing is that when we first talked about Yamato getting her own cover page story, it was like, okay, you know, maybe Kaido comes back or Big Mom and Yamato fends him off for a little bit and they leave. Maybe Blackbeard, maybe Buggy, like, you know, all these big name characters. But it's like outside of them, though, if this kidnapper isn't connected to one of them, like, who the hell are we talking about, man? Like, like, you know, like, because Yamato is the protagonist. You're like, we need somebody to go against Yamato. Well, I guess they could also be fodder and it's like a one-off thing and they're like, we come over and they're dead. But I don't know. Like, Oda spent a lot of time in the kidnapping subplot. It's been 4 weeks in a row. Like 4 weeks. Yeah. That's a good amount of time to spend on kidnappers. And here's the thing, too. I'm going to be a little bit, not upset, but I'm going to be a little bit in disbelief if we come to find out that the kidnappers are operating off of Mogura Port, the underground port of Wano, because that feels like the most obvious place, right?
And it should be policed. Like,
it should be policed because it's like a border. That's like an entryway into Wano. And it's the only entryway into Wano outside of the koi fish. And it's like, yo, guys, if we're not policing that, if that is where the kidnappers are, I'm going to be very disappointed in everybody who lives here. Guys, it's like owning a house and not checking your front porch for a kidnapper and invader.
No, it's worse than that because it's also like a 10,000 kilometer distant elevator that's so easy to like, hey, there's someone we don't want here. We don't even need to fight. It's like
it's not even far from the flower capital.
Shit. It's just cut off the rope. Like, that's all you need to do. Like,
it's like the gondolas in Marie Joie.
Yeah, if the Revs could postpartum, like, I'm saying postpartum, but like, I mean, not postpartum, but postpartum is crazy.
Postpartum?
Like, after death, I meant like,
post-mortem,
because they're not there.
Yeah,
After, like, they're not even there, right? And they're sabotaging the gondolas.
Yeah.
The word mix-up is crazy. But, they're not even there. And if the Revs could make that happen in the red port, that's the Navy's literal only spot. They're not even allowed, besides Kong, on top of the thing, right? That's the thing. Akainu was like, oh, we don't have jurisdiction over there. That means the Marines' only law, like, the place that they police is the red port, and then the top is Meridra, and the Revs somehow sabotage it. Mogura Port is the saddest
it's
place.
So sad.
It would be so sad if crime was happening through that.
If we go to Mogura Port and if there's like multiple underground organizations there and pirate groups, I'm gonna be so disappointed in Momonosuke. Not even Momonosuke, Kinemon, Denjiro, and you know, people could argue that we don't know about it. Like, maybe the Scabbards don't know, but Denjiro should. He was a part of that world.
You know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think Momo's Wano should be like 100 times scarier unless we fix this part. And I know that there's some theories about this, and it came up with actually when the kid was about to die. People brought this up. The numbers. Momo should have the numbers because Yamato is here. And like, if I was Momo, I would put 2 numbers in every region and but that's scarier than like, because Kaido didn't do that. You just put the numbers and they would follow them because it's like Yamato was literally friends with them and all that stuff. And I'm saying that because like some people had theories that because Apu went missing and Apu was friends with the numbers, that Apu took the numbers. I'm like, how? How would he take the numbers?
I could see Apu taking like the 2 like that he was talking to. Yeah, a few of them.
Yeah.
So like the numbers have their own personality. So like, like when they split, they'll probably just split.
Yeah, and so like Yamato should have some of the numbers, and like I would employ those things. Put the numbers on the.
I would. Yeah. Hey, we'll feed you. Yeah. You're gonna live a good life around Wano. Just do what you want. Just don't kill the citizens. I mean, you're good.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be like, because then you don't even need a police force on the thing. Like, imagine trying to break into Wano and you're just 2 giant toddler monsters. It's like bad ship. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Yeah. You can't even talk to them. Like it's like, all right, I'm not coming back to Wano. Crime is done here.
Crime is done.
And then the way the numbers were like portrayed, there's not a single person besides the Scabbards who could deal with them. Yeah. Like Hyogoro was looking at them and it's like, my God, Luffy's a god. All he did was slap one of the numbers. It's like, oh, is that god.
Luffy's like the god of the sun.
Yeah, and it's like, so all right, nobody on Wano can deal with the numbers. You have two of them, it's Raps. The Scabbards shouldn't be fighting them because they should be with them, and so then now it's like, you just not on top of the Scabbards you have numbers, like on top of the numbers you have a dragon, on top of the dragon you have Kaido's kid, on top of the kid now we have a dog that's a part of the region and he was an ex-Roger pirate. Like, all right, we have our
Same
bases
with
covered.
Nekomamushi, right?
If you are a criminal in Wano, you have to be Akatsuki level. I'm sorry. Like, Itachi has to be running.
To be fair, when Yamato tried to fend off the kidnapper, like, they ran away. So maybe they're not that maybe they're just sneaky. Like they maxed out stealth and that's it.
True. That, yeah, you know what? I never even, like, sometimes we think about it, right? Because, like, Batman escaped Luffy in Wano, right? Like, so sometimes we have to be like, oh, speed feats don't really matter. Like, is that person running away from Yamato equivalent here? Or we could say that Yamato just wanted to be the good citizen and stay with the girl instead of, like, you know, like...
chasing down the kidnapper?
Yeah. So, like, that's... she's not a trained hero like in My Hero, you know? Like, which one's protocol?
I just don't know. Like, I could see it being the Tobi Roppo, but, like, you know, the thing with the Tobi Roppo, Jack and Kaido and Big Mom, it's like, why would they kidnap, right?
Jack is dead.
What would be the purpose? Jack?
Yeah, didn't he die?
No.
I thought he died.
What do you mean? Wait, what?
Didn't Nekomamushi, like, didn't we see him, like, actually die, and then we never saw him ever again, right?
I feel like your memory when it comes to Jack is so bad. Because
it is,
because we talked about the Inuarashi thing, and you completely forgot about him and Inuarashi and the knife leg. And let me see, I'm reading it now.
I mean, I tell even Roger's basis because he's the Mammoth Boys, and I'm like, why are you the Mammoth Boys? And he told me
I'm gonna read the last paragraph of Jack's wiki page.
Okay.
So Inuarashi returns to normal form, giving Jack the window to turn the tide in his favor, even saying that if he had received one more hit, he would have lost. Unfortunately for Jack, the clouds moved away and advanced. Unfortunately for Jack, the clouds moved away due to Luffy's Supreme King Haki and Kaido's clash on the rooftop, which allowed Inuarashi to regain his Sulong form, and he finally defeated Jack the Drought with Odin, one sword style, Inu Spire, and that pierces his stomach and renders Jack unconscious. And that's it. That's the last we've seen of Jack.
Thereafter, because we saw Queen, we saw King and stuff like that, but we didn't see Jack. And so I remember people like telling me Jack died, and I was like,
he's not dead.
And because like they didn't see him on Udon, and I was like, because like for me again, like I don't care about Jack, but like then people were like very confident. It's like it was like the Hawkins thing, right? Yeah. When I was reading it, I didn't think that he like died. I thought he was just like knocked out, and maybe later he's gonna come back. People were like, no, Par, he died, and I was like, all right, he died, sure, whatever. With the Jack one, it was like the Green Bull conversation, and later on, like Par, Jack died. Didn't you notice? And I'm like, all right, sure, he died. I don't give a about Jack, but it is funny. Just to explain the funny thing, imagine me and you were like boxing or whatever, and like I lost, and I was sitting there like, brother, the clouds moved.
The clouds moved. Yeah, no. Imagine you watch a UFC fight, and then when they interview the person who lost, he's like, oh, the clouds shifted, the clouds moved, and the guy just hit me in the chin. I don't know. I lost consciousness.
It's just like I get it for the One Piece thing, but just the progression of you saying but then the clouds. I was like, that's the saddest.
Okay,
way
so
to lose.
Obviously we can't use the One Piece wiki as like canon or like anything like that. They're just regular people like us. But for Hawkins, they have his status as unknown. But for Jack, they're quite confident that he's alive because he's listed as alive too.
Oh,
which is fair. Like, I mean, for Jack, and I think Jack is still there. I think he's with the Tobi Roppo. I think he's looking for Kaido because he's like one of the few people, minus King, of course, who really cared for Kaido. Like Kaido saw Jack, and Jack was like, in a way, Jack was like the son that Kaido always wanted.
Yeah.
Because like he literally looked at Jack and said, "This guy has potential." Like the Minks ready to kill him, and they're like, "Whoa. It's my protege right there." Like, Jack? No, I can't let him die here.
We don't even know, like, okay, so, like, personality-wise, like, to fit the kidnapper. Jack doesn't even fit that, I don't think. Like, we've never seen him, like... and he didn't fawn over women. We didn't see that. Like imagine him being the kidnapper and you missing that. You know what I mean? A mammoth. Like you have to be
outside of the mammoth. The guy's like freaking 30 feet tall. Where's he gonna hide?
Yeah, and so say and like so like, but and then let's even talk about this. I'm sorry. My bias might be coming in, but Jack isn't strong enough to create a problem for Yamato like this.
Jack's birthday is next week.
Shit. It's crazy how brain rotted we are. It's like the birthdays. That means Oda's gonna reflect him in the cover stories. He's the kidnapper. That's what you wanted me to say, right? That's what you wanted me to think. Like, oh, the birthday's next week.
His birthday is literally September 28th, dude. Dude, it's wait. Guess how old Jack is? 28.
Oh. What does that
September 28th. His birthday. He's 28, dude. It's over, man. That means that he's gonna make an appearance in the cover page story.
Wait. Won't he be turning 29?
Wait, he was also the de facto ruler of Curry. We're in Curry. Oh my god. And then he was considered an all-star? Dude, Garlic just became an elder star.
Oh, Sai, you should make a Twitter thread. Oh my god.
Guys, I got a Twitter thread theory for y'all today. Let me tell you. You guys are eating good.
That read really well as a Twitter thread, for sure. But the moment you put your face on it, oh my god, Sai, I'm looking at you different.
Yeah.
You hit me with the birthday one. I'm like, all right. Then you're like, yo, he's 28 also. Elder Star? Oh, God, it's a wrap, baby.
It's over, boys. It's over. Oh, man. No,
dude,
but...
if it's Jack, like, the thing is, okay. I'm with you.
But why the women?
I'm with you, Sai. I'm with you. Jack is the kidnapper, but God help me if that poses a problem for... Inuarashi's the one who put his ass down, and then now Yamato is involved. Bro, like, no, like Yamato. The thing is, like Jack is strong, right? In the sense of at least he like survived like what 50 Sulong and Minks like a battle with them. That is kind of cracked. I'll give him that. That is wild, right? But like, and now there's no full moon, right? Unless imagine if Chopper coked up Inuarashi too.
Yeah, gave him like a little rumble ball.
He's just, why not? That'd be crazy if he did. Like, oh, dude, Jack would have the most insane PTSD if it. Okay. You know what? I like the Jack idea. If Chopper gave Inuarashi the coke, if Jack's like, "Where's your full moon now, dog?" And then Inuarashi's just like, "You ain't ready for this." And he
no.
And even Yamato's like, "The I would," and then Jack would have the he would go to like an animalist island. He would probably resent himself for being a mammoth at that point. He might just stay at the bottom of the ocean. He's like, "There's no dogs here. There's no animals here.
I don't have to worry about these monsters anymore."
You know what? I want this now. Jack, please let it be Jack so Inuarashi can have Chopper drug deal him the monster point like Sulong.
I saw one theory that I thought was pretty cool, and I thought I'll just bring this up, and then we'll move on to the chapter. But somebody said, it is a comment, somebody said, "Oh, Sai, what if the people kidnapping the women are actually the citizens of Wano? And everybody who's being kidnapped is actually a member of the Kurosumi clan."
Oh, interesting, because like we were talking about the Kurosumi thing, how like this should be their plot line, but like who would do it? And so like the people are saying like the Kurosumi, the ones that were hiding, are now coming out and procreating.
And now they're being kidnapped.
In Kuri, and theoretically the Kurosumi...
like somebody's going through the birth registries, they're like, "Oh, that woman, she's a Kurosumi, let's kidnap her. Let's get her out of Wano."
And like theoretically the Kurosumis should have lived in Kuri, because that was the daimyo-less, lawless one after the Kurosumi thing from that was the one. That was the region. Like once the hunt for the Kurosumis went down during Sukiyaki's childhood, then Kuri became lawless during his lifetime. And that's the other. Oh my God, Sukiyaki, bro. He just grew
Sukiyaki's
up,
crazy.
saw what happened to Curry, became the shogun, and just said, "That I ain't going over there." And he just let Curry become a cesspool for crime and whatever. And then he just gave it to he literally did the double it and pass it on to the next. He doubled it and gave it to Odin and said,
Here you
"It's
go,
your
son."
problem." Yeah, and then Odin, like he left Wano and it doubled it and gave it to Kaido, or not Kaido, like doubled the problem. Kaido came in and then he doubled it and gave it to Luffy, and so like, and then now Inuarashi's there. So like, yeah, Kurozumi's hiding in Curry could make a lot of sense, honestly. I mean,
If Tama goes missing, then I think it's pretty nailed in. But yeah, because Tama's like the main Kurozumi that we know of.
And so correct me. Like, you're saying that the commenter was basically saying it's revenge. They're kidnapping the Kurozumis
as revenge to just finish up the bloodline once and for all.
Right. Okay.
Which I could totally see that, right? Like after 20 years of oppression, after a Kurozumi started it, you finally got the country back, you know. Maybe you're like, hey, we should just get rid of all of them. Let's not take that chance anymore. Because Orochi was hiding in plain sight for a long time. So maybe they're like, okay, like, yeah, like the Kurozumi probably seem good right now, but, you know, 20 years later, I don't know.
So then is the plot just that Inurashi's letting it happen because he also hates the Kurozumi? He's like, oh shit.
Yeah, imagine the Scabbards are in on it. They're like, you know, like, another Kurozumi missing? Okay, I'll look for him. Whoa, my hands are tied, guys. The Kurozumi are missing? But my God.
Yamato being, like, kind of separate from the problem would be like, no, this is wrong. This is morally wrong. And so she fixes it, right? But then the thing is, the Tama part is kind of interesting because, like, like if Tama is involved, but my thing is, like, that would also be crazy if Inurashi's like, oh, Tama's kidnapped, finally got rid of her, because like we don't know
got rid of Tama,
because like we don't know if Tama's fruit works on Inurashi or like a mink.
Yeah, it should, in my opinion.
Yeah, so Inuarashi
like
is kind of like,
or they are like animals. I don't know.
Kurozumi hunt is one thing, but a Tama hunt, man, we gotta get rid of that one.
That's my natural enemy.
Yeah, the Minks might only be brothers to Wano because that Kibi Dango existed in the past. Who knows?
Kibi Dango.
We don't know if the Kibi Dango was because when you think about it, right, the Kibi Dango kind of fits really well with the Mink lore because it cycles with the moon.
Yeah,
it cycles with the moon. So like, if the Kibi Dango worked on the Minks, and then the Minks, like, with the full moon at nighttime, that fits with Tama's fruit, and then they break out of her thing with Sulong, and then I don't know, maybe there's a crazy thing where, like, they in the past, like, Kibi Dango is the one
that's such an interesting specification, huh?
Yeah,
like the Kibi Dango only works 1 month until the next full moon.
Yeah, with the moon cycle, it's like, That's
that's why Inurashi's just eating and chilling. He's like, yep, we're good. Tama's gone.
Yeah,
I can finally relax.
Yeah, and the thing is, you know what? It's been weighing on his mind, and what is he doing? He's scarfing down things. Maybe he's been worried about being poisoned this whole time. He's been watching.
Oh, yeah, like he eats a hamburger and then he looks inside to see if there's a Kibi Dango just hiding in there.
Oh my God!
What's up?
Wait, I think this is real.
Wait, why?
Garchu. The Minks have this. All of them bite the cheeks of the people. When they were like Luffy, they were biting his ear, biting his face. Tama's fruit works off of.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, Tama she pinches her cheek for the Kibi Dango.
And it's probably that they were domesticated and conditioned to biting their like ruler because they wanted the dango. Kind of like the kids on a Punk Hazard that were like, they wanted the candy really bad. So it might be like a lineage thing that the Minks are like conditioned like a dog and a cat to like want like the kibble or whatever.
And that could explain why once a month they get angry and they become Sulong. They like enrage because that's the one day they're free from being like, you know, quote, Tama's Void Century slave.
I think I just got a crazy video.
No, that's it.
Because like that's a gag, but then when you think about it, Tama is crazy, right? And then you think about the Garchu, it works kind of really well. Like, wait a second. Come on,
Yeah,
Sai, can you give me that's the part? Can you at least give me a real one?
No, that's pretty good. I mean, we came up with this, and plus the commenter put us on this path. It was like a brain blast on crack.
No. I'm saying because when you give me the bullshit ones, and like that's the part, I'm just waiting for that gag.
But like for reals?
Yeah. So it's not.
No. But this is a good idea though. Yeah, this is an actual like good idea. So I'm gonna go full in. Yeah, this is good. We'll make some videos on this, and then we'll we're gonna be the only people talking about Tama going into 2025. You know that, right?
Yeah, Minks Tama. I do have a cracked thumbnail for like the Minks, but like that was like 2 years ago, so maybe I pull it back out.
It's over, dude.
Yeah, you know what?
I feel like this is one of those theories that will be really good when the Void Century flashback hits. Until then, it's just going to be like a theory into the wind.
And people wonder why we spend an hour on the cover. So this is why breaking.
No, yeah. Like we make these 3 hour and 30-minute videos, and it's like, dude, you sit through all of the BS to get to this one moment where you hear one good theory. That's it. It's done.
Yeah, in a way, we're like Tama's Kibi Dango, right? Like, just that little bit of
like once a month, you get one good idea from us.
Yeah, and everyone comes back for that little our Kibi Dango that we squeeze out, Ooh,
there it is.
Yeah.
Well,
and to be fair, this chapter is a little funny because like the rest of the chapter, there's not. Like, this is one of those chapters where even on stream we were like derailing. A lot of people have commented like, I love this episode of 50/50.
Oh yeah, because like whenever we talk about this chapter, like outside of this, we just derail heavily because it's a good chapter, but there's not too much to go off of. Just like Yamato, just like Nami and Robin, it's top heavy. Like the first page is like everything, which we can get to right now because there's a fire, dude. There's a freaking fire.
Hold on.
What's up?
Robin and Nami are well endowed, both sides. Come on.
Yeah,
Oda's
but when you look at him, it's that top, dude. Come on. You're a bottom guy. That's fine.
You're just like Emu. I'm joined by your Emu.
Hey, you're a bottom guy. I will say this. I talked to Brago and I asked him. He's also a top man.
He's a top man.
Yeah, might as well call that dude Warkery, dude.
Dude, I think Oda has, because you guys are both Marines guys, and then Emu has the picture of Vivi's top, and my God,
there's something working there.
Yeah, Joy was a bottom guy.
It's hypnotic. So with the fires of Elbaf, it's a huge fire. At least in the first panel, it looks massive, and then they back out a little bit. It's like, oh, it's actually kind of small, right? They're like, hey, what does that smell? What is that fire? Is it from the forest? If it spreads to Yggdrasil, name drop, the world tree, then our country is finished. We should report to our sun god. Clearly, there's some funny business afoot. There's no reason the Stingmores would have fallen from the sky otherwise. From what those in the forest say, that rumbling earlier was the sound of the ear god collapsing. And it's like, we're getting hit with so many things back to back to back. It's kind of like one of those things where you're watching like a fight and somebody has you pinned to the ground and they're just slapping your head. Like, this first page is crazy.
Yeah, it is. We talked about this page like alone for like an hour on stream, I feel like. And it like, even when I was reacting, I was taken aback by the second panel, because I was like, Yggdrasil, we see the tree. Is it the tree? Because like that doesn't look like...
Is it the tree? Is it the Adam tree? I don't know.
I don't think so. I'm confident on that. I'm tripling down now.
That it's
that it's not the tree, but more so, it's not the same context. And I mean, it doesn't hurt to talk about it now. But like, I've been on this thing ever since my Elbaf video that like, Elbaf is an island probably surrounded by a bunch of other islands, and this is kind of something that was hinted with like Saul, hinted with Shanks' stuff, where they say Warland versus Elbaf, and it's like, okay, so then Warland is a part of Elbaf, which insinuates that there's other parts, and then you go to the Elbaf video, and at the same time, when we were talking about it, it was like there's a high likelihood that there's other places around Elbaf, and to give a rough description of what I mean, it's like Tataland, Big Mom's island, where she has Whole Cake Island, and then she has a bunch of like Chocolate Tan and a bunch of different Biscuit Island or whatever all around her, And the reason why that would make sense to me is because what I was saying in the Elbaf video, my Elbaf video is purely centered around what the Atom Tree would constitute for the One Piece world. Because Oda is a person who, yes, he writes in fiction, but he grounds a lot of things in like extreme geography phenomenon. So like things like Raijin Island, an island that's purely lightning. Well, like it's crazy, but we have a place in Venezuela, I think it is, that's just like it's lightning storms. I think like 10 strikes a minute or something like that for like 9 months of the year. And that sounds crazy. It's called the Catacumbo lightning. And so it's like that's like a crazy thing, but in the One Piece world, an island that's purely lightning strike, well, we have a place and people live there, actually. It's crazy. And then also the Calm Belt. The Calm Belt sounds like a crazy thing that's like, whoa, Oda created that. Nope, we have that in our world too. It's called the Doldrums, also called the Calm Belts, where on the Coriolis effect creates a calm belt of water where there's no wind, and thus it's calm waters. And back in the day, if you got stuck there, you were kind of screwed over with sailboats, and there's no storms because the storms kind of like cancel each other out there.
Yeah.
And so like these are things, yeah, Oda just took them and made them way more excessive and added a lot of crazy nuance to them. And so similarly, this tree that exists on Elbaf, the one that we know from Shanks's backstory, or when we saw Shanks just a few chapters ago, and then Big Mom's flashback, we see this giant wide tree that perspective wise it would make no sense for this tree to be that same thing. It's so difficult to say this unless they were like the fact that our perspective of that tree was already off of Elbaf and it was so wide would mean that if they're on land and they're seeing the tree in this perspective, they would have to be further than we were when we got the silhouette, which kind of makes no sense. And so what I was saying is that the roots of that tree are probably so massive that it spans out and probably creates other lands around it. And so it might be that this tree is an offshoot of the main tree. And I was actually looking this up later because like this kind of in the video, I didn't think that there would be other trees. I thought that there would just be roots that would come up. But the thing is, there's actually a thing that happens to trees when they're hurt. It's called suckers. So there are tree suckers, and what this is that there's I forgot what the one is called. Offshoots, I think, are the ones that come off of the trunk or branches. That's if you damage the tree, then the tree tries to solve it by creating massive shoots to kind of like when you get a scab. There's a version of it called shoots. And then suckers are when it happens to the roots. So when the root gets damaged, then it shoots up, and then it literally looks like a mini tree, and leaves can grow off of it. And so if the Atom Tree is that big and you damage the root, this might be a tree sucker. And it's not necessarily a good or bad thing. It just depends. I think you have to prune them eventually because then they become problematic for the root. But we also talked about this in the video, that this might be the sources of like where the Atom Tree comes from, where it might not be the main tree, it might be the roots of the tree where the atom wood that the rest of the world gets from the black market, it might be from these places that are more accessible, not from Warland. And when you look at like an offshoot or a tree sucker, they can grow viney in some extents. And so I'm thinking that this is a tree sucker off of the root of an Atom Tree creating another island. And that would make the most sense to me. Yeah, in a lot of ways.
And, I'm going to back up that claim too. I wasn't seeing it at first, but somebody left a comment and it was pretty obvious, but, it really like made me think about this whole subject. And yeah, Yggdrasil is what holds like the 9 realms together, right, in Norse mythology. And I was like, oh shoot, like I still am a little bit against having a really big country with multiple cities and towns, simply because I think it's not like Wano fatigue. I'd say it's more like scarring from Wano, because Wano was huge, and then we spent so much time on these other villages and these places that didn't really matter too much in the end, at least to me. So, maybe Elbaf is going to be different, but with there being 9 realms that Yggdrasil is supposed to like hold up and protect, I was like, okay, maybe there are like 9 lands. And, going back to Whole Cake Island, this is another good point too, but Tato Land is what it's called. And within Totoland, there are many islands. There's Whole Cake Island, there's 100% Island, Biscuit Island, Jelly Island. They all have that same like nomenclature.
Like 46 or 80 or something like that.
Yeah, and they're all called blank island, right? I was like, okay, like since we have Warland, maybe we'll have like multiple spin-offs of that, right? Maybe the place we're in right now, since it's not named, maybe this is Legoland. And then Oda keeps that, quote, land naming. We could have, like, a Greenland, which is literally just the forest of Elbaf. We could have a Iceland, which, you know, offshoot of real life, and that's why we have those icy mountains. I could see Oda doing that, and all we need is, like, 5 more lands. And then you have 9. That could, you know, be the 9 realms. There could be an Yggdrasil on each and every one of them. And then there could be, like, an atom tree in the middle. I feel like that wouldn't be super insane. And the thing is, you know, going back to the Yggdrasil specifically, like the reason why I don't know for sure if this is the Atom Tree, and the reason why I questioned it initially is because, like you said, like it looks weird. It's not as girthy. It's spirally. Like there's so many things about this tree that seem odd. And you know, to be fair, this could just be an instance where the silhouette doesn't match the character, right? But a tree is very different from like Kaido and Big Mom compared to like their actual forms.
Especially because it's been consistent too.
Yeah, because it's been consistent, and we just saw it recently too. So yeah, like I agree. Like it's odd that the tree is so different from what we saw, and like I could totally see this being, like in a way, kind of like a mixture of Subodhi and the Sunlight Tree Eve. Because in Subodhi we had like multiple groves, right? So maybe we do have multiple Yggdrasils. I could totally see that. And the one thing of contention that makes me think this isn't the Atom Tree specifically is because they're talking about how a fire could take down the Yggdrasil tree, or they're at least inferring that, right? Because they're like, oh, like put out the fire with the spring water. You know, if it spreads to the Yggdrasil tree, then our country's finished. And it's like, wait, whoa, this is the Atom Tree. Like that shouldn't matter that much. Right? Because the Atom Tree survived much worse. It survived cannon fire and war and everything. It was the one tree that didn't fall down. A fire can put it out? No way.
Yeah, exactly. And that on top of that, which is when they say if it spreads to Yggdrasil, the world tree, then our country is finished. And I'm like, there's no shot that Elbaf as a country is finished from the thing, because that would make no sense, right? So to me, the way I'm reading it is that like this tree is it's giving the country sustenance somehow. Without this tree, there might be history of like other lands like this, other countries in Elbaf collapsing when they lose this world tree, and they're offshoots of the main tree. When you look at like the animal situation also, which I don't mean to like skip ahead, but like I do think that the people being giants, I think we have to bring that into question. The sizing makes no sense. They say here it's like this a titanic rabbit, right? That rabbit is the same size as any rabbit on Goa Kingdom. Like not any rabbit, but like Ace, Sabo, Luffy are fighting animals just the same size. Like to say that animal's titanic for a giant is crazy. So like when we compared it to like what Oimo, Kashi, Dori, Brogy were fighting with the Gorosei, those are titanic things. And those things, when you put Luffy next to that with the legendary Iron Giant, that's a titan. These animals, the cat, the rabbit, they can't be titanic to the giants. So these giants, I don't think that they're giants, and I think that it is a perspective thing that Oda's playing with us. It's hard to say, because I know there's a lot of pushback on like the bee, the Nami, the comparison of the size, but I'm not even looking at the bees. I'm looking at the dialogue. Like there's no shot that the lion, if Luffy's saying that like the rabbit and the lion were like comparable in size, you look at that lion, it's not that big. And you compare what a giant should be compared to that lion, that lion should be like a pet cat. It should be tiny. And so that in that regard, there should be no word. They shouldn't be wondering, how did that lion get beat? That Titanic thing. So I'm thinking that these people are small, and this is the point of the video. I think that the land that we're on, which I'm going to reference my other Elbaf video saying that, yes, on top of this being a subsidiary island of Elbaf, the secondary realm, which goes back to, you talked about the realms, right? The other part of the realms conversation is that the roots of Yggdrasil had wells in other places. Hell and Midgard were two of the places. So Asgard, Midgard, and Hell, the roots went down, but there were also other places where the roots went. And they just didn't have wells per se, but the roots had other places that they were rooted in. and they also had different lands and things like that, and the roots all led to, Asgard and the top of the tree. So even in that regard, this would make sense that there's a separate land being brought to by the roots. And I'm thinking that the place that we're in, maybe the name doesn't like Oda might not go with the name here, with the 1-to-1, because he's doing like Warland and other stuff like that. But it's probably the land of the dwarves. That's what I'm at, and these are dwarves. And that's a big thing because Oda's been putting us, the face of Elbaf have been giants. We're going to the land of giants, and he's gonna, I think his first step is he brought us to the land of dwarves. And dwarves are actually play a huge role in Norse mythology, but they always get pushed to the back in terms of like popularity. In terms of anecdotally, I would say that when we talk about Norse mythology, people rarely talk about dwarves. Even in Marvel talked about dwarves for like 10 minutes, but the dwarves made Mjolnir and the battle axe that like Thor fought thing. And I'm bringing that up because that's the popular thing. And that dwarf was insane because that dwarf literally was molding with a dying star. Like nobody else is doing that in Marvel like that, and yet that's what a dwarf was doing. And the thing about dwarves in Norse mythology is that their concept of like being small people like Tantatas, it doesn't really translate as well as like small people. It's just kind of like a smaller thing, but they could, like, if giants are the main thing and then there's gods that are like normal sized, dwarves were kind of like this weird smaller giant but like still burly and strong. And the main thing is why I think that the dwarves is the Legos. It's the reason why I think that they're dwarves is because the dwarves cannot, like, basically every single place they are masters of like building. And what is the most masterful like building thing? It's Legos. Legos are crazy. So I think that they created Legos because they're the best builders of like the world, and they're the dwarves. And also the reason I brought up the clothes. This is the weird part of the video, but I think it's funny. But Oda has always, and personally, he always emphasizes outfits. Always. And I always laughed because I was thinking like it'd be so weird. And I even talked about it on stream a little bit, how like, yeah, Luffy's outfit's kind of generic, but when you think about this gang getting Viking outfits, it kind of made not that much sense, because if they're going to land the giants, why would there be clothes for smaller people? Why would there be clothes for humans? And it's funny because like Oda always emphasizes how they get the outfits, which is like an egghead. Oda made it that it was an entire panel or a page or two about both teams getting outfitted and putting it on broadcast. And then on top of that, in Wano, not just on Wano, but on Onigashima, Oda emphasized how important the outfits were. And then we go back, like it was the disguise with the kid pirates. Kinemon's entire fruit was about the outfits. Then when Luffy landed on Wano, Sukiyaki had to change him. It's like, now you fit in way better. And it's like these outfits are so important. And you even go back to Dressrosa, blending in. There's so many times where the outfits are important, but then also Oda is a huge fashion person. But then you go over here, it's like, wait a second, if they're going to like Dory and like Brogy, like they didn't change on the ship. And we also kind of get an idea of that, like Robin, Frankie, none of them are wearing Viking outfits. And so it would make sense if they came to this land and there were outfits like not prepared, but they could just fit in. And so I'm like, okay, wait, then the dwarves are probably their size. And that's why it was so easy to get outfits. And there was just like, even Nami emphasis. It's like, wait, how did I change? Where did these clothes come from? If they could just have the clothes readily accessible and it just comes, it's either something we breeze by or it is something like a small plot point that Oda lands on. But there's just like multiple reasons why I think that these are dwarves. The perspective thing, the mythology with the building stuff, the architecture stuff, Usopp's focus of like Mjolnir, but then also just like the there was a story about the cat stuff too, lion stuff. But yeah, I just think that this is probably the land of the dwarves, and that's probably why this tree looks the way it does, especially if this is the root of the Adam tree. It looks so big, so massive to dwarves, but to a giant, this is probably not that big of a tree. And we don't get a full size comparison, but if they're dwarves, that would explain why these lions and stuff like that would be like your gods to them and so titanic. They might be smaller than the Strawhats, but I'm thinking that they're the same size and they're just giant shaped but human sized. And I know you said on stream you wouldn't like that, and yesterday we didn't have a name for it, but yeah, I'm sticking with the dwarves thing, something related to dwarves.
Yeah, no, I like it more because I went through the comment section of my spoiler video, and I do this thing every week where I do it on the main channel and the side channels where I read through the comments and see what people are talking about. And I've seen more people talking about the dwarf idea, that the giants are like smaller. So I have opened up to it a lot. I don't mind it. The sizing is always going to be a weird thing in One Piece. I feel like Oda will never be like, I mean, any author, any drawer, artist, it's hard to be like 100% consistent like all the way through. But like other details, like why they call it Big Stein Castle is another reason why I'm kind of like, okay, like that's a little bit interesting, right?
Yeah.
And then
that's another big point.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things when it comes to the size here. So I don't mind them being dwarves. I think that does make a lot of sense when it comes to like Norse mythology. Like they could still be big, but maybe they're just like half the size of like Dory and Brogy. Even that would make sense. And I'm kind of be interested to see if there's like any, I'm not like racism, but I wonder if they like look at these guys and be like, yo, like what the hell, what's up with these little fellas, you know?
Yeah, so like so this is something I bring up in the video. The architecture is so important because like something I pointed out to say that like, hey, like we think that this is Elbaf for two main reasons. One is the context of us going to Elbaf, but let's say we got the story context of them going missing. Had we not had the clothing that Nami was wearing and the tree, then we wouldn't really have foundation to think that this is Elbaf, right? And then the only other reason, if you took out the clothing that Nami was wearing, that like started us off, right? When we saw that clothing, it's like, oh, this is Viking stuff, right? If let's put Nami in normal clothing and she's just in a Lego room, we wouldn't think it's Elbaf. People were thinking like, oh, this is some like another dimension, or this is inside like some other place. Maybe they got blasted somewhere crazy. Some people were saying a simulation. A lot of people were saying it was some kind of simulation, and whether or not I'd agree with them, I'm like, okay, you take away the clothing, hey, you can, it's the phantom room, oh, maybe we're there, I don't know, some toy room, some Dressrosa type thing, like you could have had a bunch of ideas. We come to this chapter, first thing we see is this tree, obviously that makes us think Elbaf. So now clothing, tree, right? And you take those away and you kind of don't have much to say that this is Elbaf, besides, hey, let's look at the people that are living there. Oda does have a distinct autonomy to what the giants look like, and these do kind of fit that, right? And so then I'm like, okay, but they could be giant, like related to Elbaf, but not exactly like that. And so the other part of it is the architecture, because the architecture of Elbaf is something Oda has been consistent with. So much so that one of the theories about Shanks was that he would be related to the Viking stuff because his ship was Viking related. Then we got Big Mom's flashback, was the first time we saw Elbaf, really, and then we saw the long houses or the boat houses that are Scandinavian in nature, whatever, and we see them, and I'm like, okay, Vikings, Elbaf, cool. Not just that, when they moved Big Mom, because they hated Big Mom, but they moved Mother Caramel, they moved Mother Caramel to Totland. That's the story. They moved her to Totland before it was Totland, and Big Mom took it over and made it Whole Cake Island. And so they moved it there, and they built long houses. They built boat houses. That's how intrinsic that architecture is to the Vikings and to Elbaf. And then we go to Shanks. 60 years later, however old Big Mom is, right? 60, 70 years later. Still, they have long houses, boat houses. We see them just a year ago. Oda drew them. Still that. So why would Oda change it here? It would only make sense as if, yes, the clothing ties this to Elbaf, but the architecture tells us it's not on the mainland. And then on top of that, why would their architecture change so much when they are building this? If they're all giants, why would Oda change up the thing unless they are a different kind of related to Elbaf? And that's where Oda would bring in, okay, well, Scandinavian includes Denmark, and Danish has the Legos. Who are the Legos really made for? And you brought like the doll houses and stuff like that. If they're masters at building, Legos are the master builders, and that's why they would have it. That's why it would make sense to Oda that they develop these things for smaller people, and it's just better. And that difference in architecture really tells me that, yes, we we are not on Elbaf that we think we are. It's going to be very different, and that racism part is probably involved there, where it's just like
Ooh, it could
not
be.
racism per se, but like segregation. The fact that they
Yeah.
call it the ear god, right? So then, what is a giant to them? Like, you know what I mean? If
It
the
could be like
rabbit
a
that
what's it called? Like the districts from the Hunger Games even. Maybe all the lands have like a Colosseum battle every year, and that's why they're
they
known for their
lose.
fighting.
Yeah, and the thing is the fact that they call the whatever Luffy beats is probably the god to them, right? And we look at what Luffy beat in that line, and we contextually can say that, like, okay, he just grilled up a rabbit, and he talked about the size of the animals, and they talked about ear god, and that's a rabbit. I know that's still contextual, but it's pretty on the nose that it's probably Luffy who beat the rabbit, and they grilled it up, and they said that it caused tremors, and how could they beat it? That would make no sense for a giant to say. Absolutely none, considering we saw the giants fight monster yokai. And sure, they're the strong giants, they're the ones that ventured out, but like, come on, like, saw, like, I mean, yeah, I think giants baseline are fighting these giant animals that, like, this line is probably just like a small animal to them compared to, you know, what a normal animal is probably like to them, or a godlike animal to them. They wouldn't call this a god. They would, like, even when they met the Gorosei, they're like, oh, it's just a jungle animal. You know, these are just the animals from our forest. They didn't say like a god. You know what I mean? If they looked at Saturn like, oh, that's the tusk god. They would have a fun time with the ear god. No, they didn't even say that. They just said like, oh, that's just like you go to our forest, you get animals like this. You know what I mean? Like, they talked about it so casually that what they're talking about here doesn't feel casual.
Yeah. Like I said,
Even the bees, even the bees.
yeah. I've seen a lot of people like jumping on this thought train. So
Yeah,
I do enjoy it. I like it.
yeah, yeah.
And as far as like all these different lands go, like I do wonder how they all interact within Elbaf. Like, do they all have their own Yggdrasil? Like, maybe if we get more translations, maybe it's not, oh, if the world tree's gone, then our country's finished. Maybe if it's the world tree's gone, our land is finished. I think that'd be very different as well, right? It would just be like a piece of the, like, maybe Elbaf as a whole would still be fine, but just this whole like island is gone.
Yeah,
And when you think about the Yggdrasil tree as well, like I always think back to the Sunlight Tree Eve, right? The Sunlight Tree Eve provided sunlight to Fishman Island. It provided oxygen. So it makes me wonder, like, if this is the Atom Tree, right? If the Atom Tree and the Yggdrasil tree are connected in a way, like what is the Yggdrasil tree providing to the giants here, or the dwarves even, right?
yeah,
Like what could it possibly be? What do you think?
I just think that it's just land, like it's just giving them land, and that's probably why, um, like, because the Viking whole thing is like wars and fighting and land stuff. So like, it might be the prerogative to protect their land, and some places might be more valuable to others. Some places might be protected, and the giants might be, you know, combative in nature. You know what I mean? Like, let's take over these. I mean, even the giants were doing that when we in Little Garden. They were just like going over, taking over land, just like eating their fight. If they got into a fight, they would just take over the whole place and just start fighting there. It doesn't matter if it's a dinosaur place or wherever they go. They would just kind of do that, and that would make sense why, like, they were so feared back in the day, 100 century ago. If they were just running around taking over a bunch of land, then that would be it. And so it might stem off of their like intrinsic Elbaf area where it's people's prerogatives to protect their land. I'm almost thinking kind of like you said, Hunger Games, but we don't even have to go that far. We could just say the cleansing event. They might have their own kind of cleansing event, because the Vikings kind of did that. Like, it was a strong might wins, strong wins, and the goal of it might be the tree. It might be that whoever, because the thing is, like I was saying, like, the prerogative of cutting down this tree is actually a positive thing, I think, to the larger tree, because, like I was saying before, pruning trees is the roots of a tree is actually, like, you have to do it in a controlled way, and so they might have to occasionally root the trees. How do they choose which roots that they prune? Well, hey, whoever can protect their root, that's whose tree we don't cut down. And so that might be how this plays out, is that like they might have to prune trees, and how they choose is, or prune the roots, and if these trees are the roots, and there might be multiple of these, then it might be that that they have to start a war, and if they don't win, like then they can't cut down the tree, and they have to go elsewhere. And that might be where like the Yeti Cool brothers, like why were those two? They were relatively young. Why were they off of Elbaf? Why weren't they there? Why did Saul have such a disdain for giants? He said like they're savages, right? And it might be because maybe he experienced one of these things and he ostracizes. Like that's not right. You know what I mean? We need a more democratic process to cutting down these trees. Whereas the giants, like, what's the problem? Like we're just cutting down the trees. The Elbaf is Elbaf. You know what I mean? Like this is a good thing this is like an offering or something like that. And so it might be that they burn down the tree. That might be what the things that they're talking about. If the spreads to Yggdrasil, then the world tree, then our country is finished, right? So it could be that like part of the process is burning the root down so that the tree sucker doesn't exist. So there's a lot of ways, but yeah, even like I said, even in the context of my video, I was saying that it's likely that the tree roots are substantiating land. I just didn't think that there would be trees on every single land, a sub-tree, if you will. And this is so much, I love this idea, this concept, if this is the case. But yeah, that's kind of the nuance I see with it.
Maybe there's a scenario where Luffy does destroy the tree or something like that, or prune the tree, which would kind of fall in line with how Luffy's going to eventually destroy Fishman Island, right? We don't know how he's going to do that, whether it's the Red Line, whether it's the Eve Tree. But that's the thing, right? If Luffy ever destroys the Eve Tree, then Fishman Island is finished. So maybe it all comes together like that. Like, you know, Luffy's, quote, prophesies to destroy Fishman Island, and he also, quote, finishes Elbaf as well. Not in like bad ways, of course, right? I bet there's like there's a motive to it, but
yeah. So like, so this one I'm a little bit talking out of my ass a little bit here, but tree relocation is a thing, and in order to do so, I'm pretty sure sometimes you have like in the video we covered root pruning and why it would make sense, like that, like the wood that Frankie got, that Adam tree wood, like if the Adam tree itself has survived all these wars and it can't be like shot down, cut down, burned down, whatever it is, like how do they get the wood? And so I was like, oh, maybe it's from the roots. And the thing is, what we were talking about is that the geography of Elbaf that he had seen prior to now and prior to, you know, like the 1100s, is that the tree is massive. And for trees, Oda has stuck with this concept throughout One Piece, and we cover this in Elbaf, which is that trees need fresh water. The problem with Elbaf is it's surrounded by the ocean. The only trees that Oda kind of did this with that are so massive are the mangrove trees, but those are basically the only trees that actually thrive in ocean water. They are made to be able to filter out the seawater, and that's why the mangrove, you know, forest exists. And fun fact, Bangladesh and India have they have the largest mangrove forest, like, or second, I think, in the world. And so like that mangrove forest, like it's on the water and you need that. And Oda has stuck with that. How crazy is it? The roots that go down, mangrove tree, and it fits with the geography. And so that's why I was like, I don't think Oda's going to break from the geography, but he has this Adam tree sitting on seawater. The problem with that is that think about beaches, guys. You don't see trees on the beaches. They die. That's why there's a beach. There's a hefty land barrier in between the closest, healthiest growing of trees and the water, and that's because they can't grow there. They have to grow at least like 50 feet, I guess, from like the beach end line, because you can't grow in the sand, right? And so when you think about that, the tree on Elbaf is in a precarious situation, because if its roots grow out into the ocean, it's going to get hurt. It's going to die. So they need to prune the tree. And now going back to what I was talking about, the part that I was talking about ass, is that the tree relocation thing, right? And the reason I brought that up is that sometimes you have to over prune some trees have a younger tree has a taproot that goes way down, and I don't think you can lift all of that up. So sometimes you do have to cut that, and you relocate it to a more hospitable area. And I think you do this to trees that are growing in like a land that's going to be deforested, or there's some kind of like poison that they can't, or something like that. And so with the Eve tree, it might be the case that that's what Luffy has to do. He has to relocate the tree. And that's why Fisherman Island would have to burn, or essentially get destroyed, is because whatever true root is sustaining it. I was saying in the video, that's probably a taproot, and that root probably has to be cut down so that they can relocate the tree, which, like you were saying, that's going to destroy Fisherman Island. And it might be that it's not technically destruction, it's for a good cause. They just have to move the tree. And the other part that I brought up in the Red Line video is that we don't know where the Eve tree ends, because from the story, Fisherman Island's directly below Meridra. And that would mean that Eve would be in Meridra, but we've seen the scope of Meridra. We've seen the Red Port. There's no branch, there's no tree, there's nothing around it. So it's almost like the Sun Tree Eve is inside the Red Line, or it's growing somewhere else, and that's probably why it has to be moved. It's because it's growing in a weird way. But my thinking is that the Red Line, in the Red Line video, I was talking about how like the Red Line is probably encasing the Eve tree, and that's why it's such a problem. It's like the parasite. I didn't talk about the parasite part, but I was talking about how it's weird that Kong's aquarium has sunlight in it, and I was like, I wonder if the sunlight tree Eve is in this aquarium that Kong has. But obviously that's that was a joke part, but it was substantiating the part where like geographically the sunlight tree Eve is in a weird spot. But and as far as Oda and like these giant trees and vegetation, like, hey, Luffy had to cut down the giant jack, right? He had to cut it down for a reason, and it wasn't exactly the best reason because he just needed to fight Enel. But he had to do that. Imagine Luffy has to do that to one of these trees. I think it fits better than people want it to be.
The thing with, cutting down the giant jack as well is that we saw almost like a one-to-one parallel with what Enel did with his skyship, with his like crazy lightning ball attack in Lucia, right? We saw that it was almost like a callback directly. So with Luffy cutting down Giant Jack, we could see him cutting down a giant tree, and that could be Yggdrasil. And that could start, quote, Ragnarok, Yeah,
and Enel had the Thor attack. He's like Thor.
Thor.
And in like Viking stuff, Thor was kind of the protector, but also he was fighting the wars in all the realms, and a lot of the realms were at war for the resources, which goes back to like actual history about the Vikings. It was all resource battle. Like in order to sustain a war life, if you played any kind of war game or anything like that, if you don't have resources, you're dying. If you watch Vinland Saga, one of the main things is when the peace came in, it's like, damn, how do we feed the soldiers? We just had to go to more wars then. We got to keep expanding, brother. And then they're like, wait, I thought the wars were done. It's like, yeah, but like if I gonna have like 100,000 Vikings protect me, I gotta feed them somehow. And in order to do that, are we gonna pillage ourselves? Well, yeah.
I stand with taxes. King Canute.
It's either we tax them, which is legal pillaging, which they were like, we got to do 60% taxes. And it's like, well, might as well just over the nation next to us then. And that's what they were doing. And so it's like, so that's very intrinsic to the Viking stuff, but yeah, that's
overall though, like, I like it. Glad Elbaf is here. One of the next things they say is, hey, the fire's happening, we should report this to the sun god. Mm-hmm. And that's crazy, right? Like, but the thing is, when they say sun god, we could be talking about a lot of different things here, because we saw that they called a giant rabbit the ear god. So there's a chance the sun god is just another giant animal. And I'm sure a lot of people did, they went immediately to a lion, because people see lions, they connect it to the sun. We have that with Thousand Sunny. We have that with multiple cover page spreads and colors where Oda depicts a lion as a sunflower. So yeah, like it could just be a giant lion. It could even be the lion that the Straw Hats beat in this chapter, right? It has a crown and everything. We don't know like what the ear god looks like, minus it just being a giant rabbit. Maybe it had the same crown, right? And maybe that's what dictates that they're a god. Yeah. So yeah, like we could have defeated the sun god in this chapter, or I could even see this being a really fun like call through to Dragon Ball Z and even One Punch Man. Maybe the sun god is a fake sun god. And then, Luffy meets him and he's like, oh, I'm the sun god, but you know what? I don't care. Like, I don't want that title. Like, you can be him.
So here's another thing. Oh, I forgot about this with the dwarves. So, another part why the lion thing is a little weird. We saw the lion. We saw the cat. We saw it not talking to Nami and Usopp. Not like language comes a big way in explaining misunderstandings. So it's like, hey Nami, wake up! Like, and then Nami freaking out. It's like, hey Nami, I'm your friend. We remember yesterday when you're drunk? And it's like, no, I don't remember you. Blah blah. But the thing is, the giants or alleged giants are saying we have to report this to the sun god. So it being the lion cat is a little odd. Because it's like, what did that mean? Report to the what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, that's weird for every island. But this one also, it's not like it's not like the giants were talking to the dinosaurs in Little Garden. It's not a thing, or the sea beasts or anything like that. And so. And I know you brought up yesterday, it's like, well, we don't know where Chopper is, and Chopper could be the talking animal liaison here. And but the way they talked about the fire, it seemed like a well-established thing. Like, oh, fire, report the sun god. It doesn't seem like a day-old thing. Oh, we have Chopper now. We can speak to the lion god. We got to report it. It didn't seem like that, and I'm not saying that's impossible. But the thing about dwarves in Norse mythology, I saw this... I kept on forgetting to bring it up, was that remember I was saying like the nuance of the dwarves is a little weird. So one of the understands is that some depictions of the dwarves had them be able to transform into animals.
Yeah.
So it might be that they actually can communicate to the animal, and they might be able to transform into animals, which I know it's like One Piece. Oh god, another like crazy ability from a race. How wins and stuff. But like, it's like we're at a point in the story where it's like literally Bonnie's power depicted that like anybody's capable of anything. It's just timeline thing, and so like Bonnie has the access to timelines. But whereas like if you're Frankie and you're not Frankie, but like Frankie, if you're constantly choosing the bad timeline, whatever, you can end up as a battleship. Like that's the reality in Oda's world. And like Nami's bad timeline, she still looks good, but she's like a predator. Like she's like little kids, yummy, like something like that. I think Robin also said something like that too. So hey, these are your favorite characters, and they end up crazy too. So the dwarves could be depicted if they're like ear god, sun god, and the reporting to them, it might be that they are able to transform into animals like a half animal maybe, or maybe just straight up. And the thing is, we have the cat turning into a lion, so it's like we already have some kind of like
tomfoolery going on.
Yeah, something's going on there. And then when I saw that about the dwarves, I'm like, oh, hey, this could be way crazier than we like to think.
And the thing with the sun god too is, going back to like the brass tacks of it all, like reporting to the sun god, right? Like if this is a person or if this is an animal, like how would they put out the fire in the first place? Or like let's say they do report to this. Yeah, like let's say they do report to this cat or this lion, whatever this is, right? It's like, okay, you tell it. What does it do? Like it lost to Luffy and all these guys. Like, is it eating fire? One cool theory I heard is that maybe the sun god is Pandora, the homie that Mother Carmel created, and it's still here because the status is still unknown, right? It appeared one day and then we just never saw him again. So there's a chance Pandora's still alive, right? I mean, Zeus is still with Nami, and people think that, well, not people, like a small subset of people think that Big Mom is dead. So yeah, like, devil fruits can exist well after the user's gone. So yeah, there's a chance that, Pandora could be it. A fire's happening, you grab that sun homie and they eat up the fire. It's all done.
Yeah, I've been against the whole Pandora being alive and it being substantiated by most of what Big Mom has done. And then, when Big Mom died and people were like, oh, but Zeus, I'm like, yeah, but I don't think Big Mom's dead, so I don't think that
me
applies. Neither. But and then in the, like, Pandora staying alive, it could make sense, right? Because it's part of her soul, Mother Caramel's soul. But actually, no. Pandora still being alive wasn't... Oh, okay, no, this is the stipulation. Before all this, people were saying, oh, but Prometheus is Pandora. And because they were saying that was the continuation, like that's been like Pandora never died, Prometheus is the thing. And I'm like, I don't think that. And that on top of that, that would mean that Mother Caramel's homies stayed post death, right? Which I also didn't think was possible. Now, could Pandora still be alive and that all be separate? Sure. I don't think that Big Mom situation substantiates it. I don't think so. Pandora being the sun god that they report to could make sense because it ate up the fire and stopped it. Could make a lot of sense. We got to report it. I do like that. Pandora having that role is kind of crazy too. And the thing is, they would revere it because that would be Mother Caramel's soul, and they loved Mother Caramel. Mother Caramel was their savior. They literally got her an entire land to confiscate, even though that meant not confiscate, to relocate to with the House of Lambs, the children orphanage, even though that meant helping Linlin, who killed two of the leaders. And so they still did that. And that was kind of crazy. And so Pandora being it's not the worst thing, it's not the craziest thing. And also it'd be interesting because like Oda did highlight Zeus at the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
So it would be kind of
Zeus
interesting.
And Pandora would be a cool mix up.
Because Pandora would be Mother Caramel and Zeus would be Big Mom, and Pandora would know that because Pandora should know Big Mom. Pandora's birth was stopping Big Mom. And so that would be kind of that's why at the start I'm opposed to it because the direction was explaining Big Mom and like Zeus and all that stuff and Prometheus. But on this front, I like that. Pandora being the sun god here that could stop the fire. Hey, Pandora did that. And then meeting Zeus to see Big Mom. Oh, that'd be kind of crazy. But the weird part would be Mother Caramel's soul. How does that part work? But that, hey,
we got Lilith.
Post Egghead.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have that because people are saying off of other things to substantiate it. No, there's no greater thing to substantiate other than Vegapunk. Vegapunk's literal entire thing. What does death constitute? Hey, what does that mean for Mother Caramel, who's been dead for what, like 100 years? Oh, no, not 100 years, like
60
70 years. Yeah, something like that. And her homie's still alive? Oh, what does that mean for death, right? I would love that. That would be crazy.
Yeah, and with then, like Lilith as well, like she can just explain so many of the things we see here on this island, and I think that's one of the key reasons why Oda didn't bring Lilith initially with this Alabasta 6, right? Because if Lilith was here, she would explain the Legos, she would explain the giant animals, the weird transforming cat, and plus with Vegapunk having been on this island before, like all that prior knowledge as well would be brought along with her, so we wouldn't have that like sense of quote adventure. Because Lilith would just know everything.
Like that's to address the people who think that this is a part of Elbaf and just separate. Like Vegapunk has been to Elbaf, and we don't know how long. But he's also Vegapunk. Like
he's Vegapunk. He should like step on that island and automatically know everything about it.
Yeah, at minimum, it's like the whole thing Shaka said is like it's his job to know. You know what I mean? Like if there's something that's weird or different or whatever, like and the thing is he's known all the sciences. He knows about Weatheria. He knows about theoretically he knows about Hogback, right? The West Blue Doctor guy, right? Like he knows about all these things. And Shaka literally, when Chopper was just like, wait, you mean blah blah blah, and Robin's like, oh, thank you for archaeology, and Shaka's like, don't thank me. That's my job as a smart person. You idiots stay in one lane. My job as a scholar is to know everything. And then, it's just kind of funny the way he said it. But he's been here. He's talked to Saul. He knows about things. And we do get a little bit of a context about how Vegapunk and the Giants kind of work. Because when the Giants showed up on Egghead, Edison was like, oh damn, I'm surprised you they came for there was a whole, they're not a surprise, but kind of like the camaraderie and like just the nuance of the Giants showing up. He was like, damn, that's kind of interesting, so like that also lends itself that he is not like it's not like the world government and Wano, right? The world government knowledge of Wano is like, man, we ain't messing with the samurai, you know. And Elbaf is like, oh god, the giants, we gotta make, instead of kidnapping giant children and procreating them, let's make giant children and experiment on them. Surely that's easier than going to Elbaf and just stealing kids, which is crazy to me because like CP0 was just like doing that sort of like already, and they just like stopped. Like, that would have been the whole thing, right? CP0 should have been kidnapping little giant children. But they weren't doing that. Anyways, the point is that like, there's so much with the Elbaf and the Lego stuff that just like, whoo, that Oda's like piecing it together masterfully with where the characters are and how they're placed. Like even like the little bit of the cat burglar, right? And then like the lions here, and then like I remember like I didn't immediately think of it, but I was talking about Strong World at the beginning of the Egghead thing, mainly because of Shiki, our idea that Shiki was there, and then but it's also kind of interesting because it's like with like Nami getting kidnapped by a golden lion in Strong World, and now kidnapped by a golden lion god person on Elbaf. That's interesting. And we thought Shiki was there. And then also let's think, like I was thinking about this when you're talking about the cover story. Inuarashi's the daimyo, dog becoming a leader, and now later in the story we got the lion becoming a leader. Like the lion is the god in the castle. Like it's just kind of, it feels like this was one of the most relaxed chapters that Oda had, but he also was like in his bag, right? And he even did that parallel, which we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, this feels great. It feels awesome.
Yeah, and with the Sun God, I do like the idea a lot that maybe this is just like a Loki-esque character or like another giant who's assuming the role of Sun God Nika. Mm-hmm, and then by Dory and Brogy going out to find Luffy, they're bringing like the quote true king to the island, which again, like Luffy wouldn't care, right? Like he would show up, he would see the fake Sun God, and he'd be like, "Oh, that's cool. See you later."
Yeah.
Like, and it could be like that play on like Hercules, right? He's the world champion of the martial arts tournament. Yeah, he's kind of strong for a human, but he's not doing the Goku level feats. It could be like King from One Punch Man. Yeah, he's like the rank, I think he's like number 3 hero, 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, none of those feats are his. It's just Saitama doing it. So maybe we get that here where Luffy's the real Sun God, but at the same time, the fake Sun God takes all the credit, and Luffy just doesn't care because he's just like Saitama and he's just like Goku, right? He's just like, whatever. Yeah. Like, I don't want it. Yeah. I don't want that notoriety. But even though he is like a heavily established pirate in Yonko.
And the thing with like Luffy too, right? Like the title Sun God, I think here is really important because obviously Nika had the title. And so what did Nika do to have that title that makes it applicable to whoever they're reporting it to? Because like you said, whoever the Sun God is has to be able to deal with fires. So, and the thing is like Pandora makes sense because what did Pandora do? Pandora eats the fire. Is it that Nika was the Sun God because they ate the fire and Luffy can also eat fire? Like, is that what the Sun God's supposed to do? Is eat fire? Like, is that like also a thing with the Mother Flame too? Like they can eat the Mother Flame? Like, I don't know. And it's just like on both sides, what does the Sun God that they have do, and why is it like we know Luffy's the Sun God, so why is he the true Sun God? Why is he replace whoever they report to? Because if they're reporting this the guy for the fire thing, then I'm also like, I don't think about Luffy as a firefighter. Like, you know what I mean? Jinbei is the one who put out the Onigashima fire. Luffy's the one who's supposed to start the fire, is he not? Like in Fishman Island and Charlie's, Madame Charlie's prophecy. So it's like, so maybe he's a Sun God, maybe Nika's the Sun God because he started a fire? I don't know. It's weird. But maybe there's two Sun Gods. Maybe there's, like how Nekomamushi and Inuarashi shared thing night and day. Maybe there's a night Sun God and a dark Sun God, like in which people theorize about that with Blackbeard.
Ooh, this could even be like a callback Fishman Island where we had all those little kids and like, oh, I'm Nika, I'm Ika. Like they had like 4 of them, right? Maybe there's like multiple Sun Gods.
It's kind of just like a plot point where it's called the All-Father. He's the All-Father, and then he has a bunch of kids and they fight. You know what I mean? They fight for the thing, and that's kind of a story across history. Is like the they fight for the throne.
And if there's anybody out there who's played Final Fantasy XIV, it's just like the latest expansion with Dawn Trail. Because that's literally the plot there. They go to a native land and there's a competition among kids. Done.
Yeah, and like that could be like the cleansing event, right? The cleansing event could be like, oh, which celestial dragon family ends up Thor's son, like the Vikings could have a version of that. Who's the rightful heir? Well, it's meritocracy. You get points, and whoever gets the most lands is the rightful heir to Warland. So it could be something like that. And the thing is, like I've talked about, like Warland is a very interesting thing. I think maybe I brought this up in the other Elbaf video, but Warland. So in Scandinavian, like War and W and V, they're kind of like L's and R in Japanese. Like Valhalla is like a thing, right? And so like Val, like that. If the L changed to an R and the W changed to V, like, or the V changed to W, you get war. And so like that could be why Oda named it Warland, is because it's like a reference to Valhalla. And that could be like where, the central, like the winners or the royalty, the gods, that's where they preside. Which would make sense why Shanks is there. It could be that the reason why Shanks is so revered is because he was a winner. He is like a person who which would kind of fit the Celestial Dragon thing, right? The Figarland being the holy supreme commander person and the champion of God Valley. It could be that Shanks did that on Elbaf, and that's why the giants like, yo, we know that he's crazy, because when you think about it, right? If he subjugated the giants with his hockey and his strength, like that's one thing, right? But if he's doing it part of like not a wholesome game, let's not say wholesome, but like more so like a sanctioned game, a sanctioned event, sanctioned war, and Shanks just debuted like, oh, who's this little guy thinking that he could beat them? It could be that this place that Luffy landed on, this is the reason why the land still exists, right? Because if they can't even topple Ear God, how do they still exist, right? It could be that Shanks is backing them. It could be that this is where Shanks also landed, which would be why that like Luffy landing here would be kind of crazy. There could be a lot of interesting things when it comes to that. Hey, you know how crazy it'd be if reporting to Sun God meant Shanks? That would be kind of wild, because Shanks could do something. Yeah, that would be kind of wild if that's what they meant.
Yeah, and then Shanks would say, "Hey, I'm not on the island. Leave me alone." He just hang up the call.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no. Imagine it's like Gambia's grandma. He's just like, oh, just use water, guys. Come on.
Well, the thing is, we know that, so here's the thing, right? Shanks is a sleeping lion to the rest of the world, right? Sleeping lion, right? Lion, sun god, but sleeping lion to the rest of the world. So that means he's not active, right? And we know that that's been substantiated through the story. He shows up here and there. What are you doing, red hair Marineford? What are you doing with Kaido, right? But then also on Elbaf, he's like, they're like, oh wait, you stopped here for a little while. He's like, yeah, I pit stopped. So that implies that he is somewhere else, but he's not on Elbaf. So like, where would he be aside from the rest of the world if he's not really showing up? And the thing is, it's like most people don't mess with Shanks's flag, so he had to show up to Barto, and he shows up in the news because of that, right? So then it kind of implies that, yeah, maybe he is elsewhere, and this could be one of the places he could be, on these subsidiary islands rather than Elbaf itself. And that could lend itself to how massive Elbaf's territory is, that Shanks is within that region and he's doing all these things. It could be that Shanks is over here doing Shanks things. He's just not in the rest of the world, which is why it's not getting reported. But he's also not on Warland Elbaf, which is why the giants there and the people there are like, oh, you weren't here for that long. And that's why. It's because he was probably elsewhere. It could be that. And
yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not on board with it, but I could see it.
Yeah. I'm not, me either, because like
me either.
Because the main reason why me either is because it's like, not that I wouldn't like that, but it's more so like Shanks was what, like,
I think that's so like, funny though. Just like you gave this whole idea and you're like, yeah, but I wouldn't really like it that much. I don't believe it.
I mean, I have, like I always say on stream, I have millions of ideas, and it's like, 10% of them I like, and then 1% of them I like talk about, and then 0.1% gets posted, right? People can't fathom all the ideas that I get. But the Shanks one, the reason why I like it and I don't like it, but it would be kind of like Buggy East Blue. You know what I mean? It's like Shanks just messing around with people who can't even deal with Ear God. It's like, all right, like, yeah, I guess, like, I want to give Shanks something else that's like he was doing something crazy, but like it at that rate, it's like the Holy Knights. What were the Holy Knights doing all these years? Well, like I don't know, dicking off. Like they weren't fighting anybody. They're not even saving their own land. And it's like I guess it's the same thing with Shanks. Like he's the sleeping lion. That could be the griffin thing too that you like.
And
too.
if you guys are wondering what Par's referring to when he keeps on saying sleeping lion, it was dropped in the Road to Laughter. That's how Oda described him.
Yeah, the Gorers say from their perspective, it's like the sleeping lion has yet to move or whatever, and the whole paragraph was said from like the Gorers' perspective of like if Shanks were to move, then the whole world would ripple in their perspective, and they refer to him as sleeping lion, and then also like Sai has brought up the griffin, Shanks has been film read and then recently depicted with a griffin motif. And so, hey, we just talked about how lions get depicted as suns, and Thousand Sunny is a perfect example. So Shanks being that wouldn't be that crazy. They might call him the Griffin, and that ties into the sun god thing. But yeah, the whole Shanks doing that and having that reverence could be, that kind of idea, and could it be like, because like Shanks is kind of like quote unquote Luffy's dad in a way, so like it might be that like Shanks doesn't have a kid of his own, and so he comes here and they're like, who is this guy killing Ear God and all this stuff, and it's like you know Shanks the sun god, you know what I mean, and then you're Shanks' son, you know what I mean, like that, because that's how they name, like Odin's son, Thor's son, like, so then Luffy would be Shanks' son if they knew that like lineage, right? But yeah, or he could be Luffy land. It would be Shanks land too. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this.
And hey, we were talking about other lands coming up later. If Yggdrasil really does expand to 9 different realms, maybe Uso land and Luffy land and Robin land, maybe they become the 9 lands. Who knows?
Yeah,
they take
Fra
over.
Land, Uso land, Robin land, Frankie, Zoro. I don't remember if they said Nami land. Did they say Nami?
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Strawhats.
All the Strawhats have lands except for Jinbei, because he wasn't there.
Dude, all the Strawhats.
So 9 Strawhats. All 9 Strawhats minus Jinbei could be the 9 realms.
Yeah,
in the weirdest way possible.
Jinbei could have the most important role, which would be like Jormungandr and stuff like that, because it's like the ocean current around it. Because that's the other part. The wells and the currents, those are the thing. And damn, I like it.
Yeah, there you go. And yeah, I mean, with Elbaf too, like I feel like there is going to be a lot of fighting here. With the place being built up for like their warriors, I feel like there will be fighting, especially when it comes to like Usopp's dream and Nami not being able to understand why the giants are the way they are, right? That she said that like twice already, about like how the giants don't make any sense to her. Like back on Little Garden, Dora and Brogy were fighting, and Usopp was like, "Oh, that's awesome, that's so cool." And Nami's like, "Yeah, but like, why the hell? Like, why is this a thing, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me." And I think that's so important as to why Nami was separated and is here, and why she has like the orange hair. She'd be from Sweden if she was from a real place. That's what Oda said on SBS. And it's like, maybe that's like the takeaway from this island. It's not just an Usopp arc. It's not just Chopper's arc because he's missing, which we'll get to in a bit. But maybe Nami also grows from watching the warriors fight, and she'll come to understand the culture a lot more and appreciate it.
I have an idea, and I think it's going to be hated if this is... Not because the idea is bad, but I think Oda might get a lot of slack if this is the thing. It might be that these giants are dwarves, and they might be dwarves because of a lot of reasons. But let's, like, Norse mythology aside, it might be that they're vegetarian.
That'd be kind of funny. I don't think you would catch any flack from that.
Because like Oda was saying that the reason why they're small is because they don't eat meat, and like because then the vegetarians would be like, the PETA people like, what is Oda saying? What, you don't get proper nutrition from being vegetarian?
PETA is kind of a crazy organization to begin with. So
yeah. I'm saying like the vegetarians there's a lot of them, and they'd be like, well, no, you can get proper nutrition. And I'm not saying I'm not on this. Don't hurt me. I'm just saying that because the reason I'm saying that is because like Luffy is out there eating the ear god, and it's like a normal size thing, and or like not normal size thing, but I'm kind of thinking about it like if that's like a smaller animal on Elbaf. Let's just say that, right? And this is a smaller place, and they can't even fathom defeating the Titan. I don't think they have any chance about beating these animals. They're worried about these bees. They're like, how are the bees coming down in the sky? If the bees are that big for them, then I don't think they have a chance against animals. And that might be that they don't eat meat, or they can't eat meat, or they won't eat meat. And now I'm thinking about it, like, because like Luffy's also grilling their god. And they might be upset about that, but I'm honestly like, if they had food, then like, wouldn't Luffy just be partying with them? Why would he have to go? Like, there's people in the forest. They're talking about that. And the thing is, like, Luffy also probably didn't even meet them because they said, who could possibly beat that thing? Well, hey, if new people came to our land, wouldn't you think that they did it? Like, I was also thinking about that. That's a little weird that they said that. Cause like, if Dory and Brogy showed up, like let's just say the whole ship came down and Luffy and them, they landed there, then surely these people were like, who beat the giant bunny, the ear god? Well, Dory and Brogy were just here and they dropped off new people. Well, I know that none of us could beat them, so it's probably those guys. They wouldn't even question that. So it's kind of like the nuance of the Straw Hats being here is also really interesting because it doesn't
unless
seem
they
like
just don't know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The Straw Hats somehow got here without the people getting the information, but they got the clothes, and then they were in the castle and all that stuff. So there's a flip flop. But then I was thinking like, yo, what if they just don't eat the meat? And that would be kind of crazy because that would fit, and that's why the animals are so big because maybe they do eat meat. I don't know. I'm just saying. Like
I don't think it's like a bad idea. It's kind of loony, but I like it. It's One Piece in a way.
Eat meat. You know, the giants all eat meat, and maybe this is a land that they don't, and that's
I think the problem is not even a problem. I think the reason why we have so many like wild and weird ideas with Elbaf so far, like the dwarves, the vegetarian stuff, and like the sun god and the ear god, it's simply because we don't know a lot about Elbaf. Like essentially, Oda gave us not just like us, but like the fan base. Oda gave us all a blank canvas in a way. He gave us like certain dots, but that's it, right? How you connect the dots is always going to be different. So yeah, like while these ideas do sound like kind of off the wall, wild, like it's just what we're dealt.
Imagine this, guys. For a second, walk with me with this, right? Let's go back to Oimo and Kashi and Dory Brogy. We're fighting on Egghead, right? Luffy's, punching, and then they say, "Oh, we're going to Elbaf, woo!" And then someone like me or Sai or your favorite Twitter theorist or whatever comes out and says, "I think Elbaf is going to be made up of Legos." And then you're like, you're stupid because we saw Elbaf, dummy. And then it's like, then we got Legos. It's like, I'm not saying, because that's a theory that you couldn't really come to because Oda didn't give us stuff like that. But in a world where like there was inkling towards that, right? Let's say that the guy was super cracked and they're like, well, Elbaf is going to reflect Scandinavian countries, and one of them is Denmark. And one of the biggest things about Denmark is Legos. And so if the Vikings have any reflection over the Danes and their building stuff, maybe they're going to have a Legoland. And let's just say there's a shorter theory, but it was substantiated. That theory would immediately, no views. Everyone would roast it, be like, this, you're that guy who thinks Legos land. But the thing is, like, boom, crazy idea. And it's like, the fact that now that we have the Lego stuff, and Oda didn't even show how we got to this Elbafian place, and the nuance, we didn't even mention the craziest nuance. The starting point of Elbaf apparently is the legend of Nika. Nika painted a bat black, which is like a meme. He's like pancaking the Gorosei. If he's the legend of Elbaf, Elbaf is gonna be silly. Elbaf is going to have the silliest stuff. I mean, look at it. Like, Luffy turns into Gear 5, and the Giants couldn't not stop laughing and dancing. It's like, that is what we're going to get, dude. Like, we're going to get silly, we're going to get crazy, but it's going to feel cool, and it's going to have an Oda spin. I can't even think of a more Oda spin than coming to a Scandinavian place and having Legos. Like, that just sounds like Oda. I can't think of another story that would do it the way we're doing it right now.
Yeah,
and we're not even doing it
wild.
Yet. We just see it. You know what I mean? We're just like looking at it.
Yeah, we're still in the the foreplay segment of Elbaf, and I mean, hey, we're still in the foreplay of this chapter because that was just one page.
Yeah,
it's been 2 hours. We got through one page, but like we said, it's top heavy, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot here. Like,
Like a
we go over to
favorite
Big
Asian
Stein
woman.
Castle next, right? And
Yeah.
I think the name is so cool. Like, I
I
don't
like
know why.
Steins.
I like I like Steins. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's a Frankenstein thing, which I don't even like Frankenstein that much, but just the name Stein, it's got that power to it. And in Norse, in Old Norse, Stein actually means stone. In Germanic, it also means stone apparently as well. So, when you think about it, this castle is made out of maybe, quote, Elbaf stone. Maybe, Legos are just a common thing they find here in Elbaf. To them, it's just like, it's just like how we have brick. They just have Legos for some reason.
Yeah, I hated my first college that I went to for a lot of reasons, but I can't hate the one thing that they had that was like symbolic were Steins. It was like a thing.
What do you mean? Wait, like they named their building Stein?
No, like everyone got a Stein as like if you went to the school there. And
That's what they called their like awards or something.
No, like an actual cup, like to drink out of. I see. That, like like a sweater that says your school name, like Steins. Like we got Stein, like that you could buy it or whatever. And but I think I got mine for free, for whatever reason. Maybe it was a scholarship thing, but and then like at the frat or party thing, like I think there was an event, you bring your Stein, you get it filled up free, and then there was a breakfast place, so they Steins, and I love Steins. Like I don't even drink.
Yeah,
I just like the concept of them.
When you saw Big Stein Castle, your eyes were popping out of your head. You're like, oh my god, my college days.
Yeah, my wife always tries to buy these like cups for me, right? Like this one's one. She saw this at Marshalls. I'm like, stop buying these. Oh wait, like I'm not gonna stop. She's like, One Piece, part of it, and here you go. And I'm like, no,
my wife does the same thing. Whenever there's like anything remotely One Piece, she's like, oh look at that. I'm like a little kid with candy. Like that's how I feel sometimes. I'm like, oh look, it's One Piece. It's One Piece. It's like
she always does. Yeah, like I'm not gonna use it. And she's like, okay, even if you don't use it, you can put it in your background in your stream. I'm like, my background is so right now. I'm not putting it back there. What do you want me to have a giant like furniture set in the background showcasing all the little things? Like all my One Piece shirts, it's her going to like TJ.
I mean, Maxx, you blur your background too, and it looks so funny because I can still like kind of see everything that's back there.
Yeah. I mean, it used to not be blurred, but like at the different angle. But I just needed this angle, and I'm gonna push out the desk and have like an actual background soon. But yeah, it's just a bunch of like there's a bunch of these and
just random One Piece like merch just around.
Yeah. But I like the Steins, and the one thing is my wife's family, they have family cups. And they're all Steins. So when I got into the family, I got my own Stein, and I never knew that because me and my wife are childhood friends, whatever. But I didn't like. I didn't know
so
that.
Long since I've heard somebody call one of those cups a Stein.
Yeah, like it's literally a big
it's like,
thing.
It's just like a mug.
Put my name at the bottom, and I'm like, this is so crazy that you guys have Stein. Like I don't know anybody. You guys aren't even Scandinavian. What's happening? And it's like, everyone has one. Yeah. So
it's like if you ever go to like a festival, like in any state here in America, like you'll always see a Stein just hanging out, or in Oklahoma, there's like a
smorgasbord.
There's like this root beer like truck that rolls around, and like you can buy a Stein and you just get free refills all the time, which probably not good,
exactly.
Just it's like free refills of root beer like in one day, like I don't know if that's a good idea unless there's like ice cream with it, right? Which I love root beer floats, man.
Yeah, we're the same. I remember when we found that out. I was like, no way. I remember all my friends. That was the thing at my college. Because like our food thing, like the fountain drinks and ice cream right next to each other, and nobody was making root beer floats. Nobody was taking root beer. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
It doesn't make any sense. Just do it, man. It's free.
Yeah, and
yourself a root beer float.
You go outside, and if you want a root beer float, it's like $9-10. I'm like, it's in our food plan. They give us free root beers, and then it's like, just do it.
Here's another one I'm gonna put out there. I really like affogatos, which are it's like vanilla ice cream, and people pour hot espresso over it, which I don't have an espresso machine, or else I'd do it for myself like every single day. But if fancier coffee shops do it, a place I used to work at used to do that as well. But I haven't really seen any places like that here in Oklahoma, so it's kind of sad. But yeah, if you ever have a chance to get an affogato or make it yourself, it's just ice cream and hot espresso. Pour it over, drink it, eat it, scoop it with a spoon. It's so good.
It's kind of weird how like We connect on those randomest things. Like, that's so wild.
We have the same.
Normally that's off
affogatos
so
and root beer floats.
Yeah, like I don't know. If I go to my best friends, like, what do you think about affogatos and root beer floats? Like, sure, I would order one. Yeah,
I'm passionate about it, man. Like I love it. I have fond memories of affogato.
Dude, same. I don't even like coffee like that. Yeah, I don't even like I like coffee flavored things, but like it's not like my go-to thing. I'll have it, but yeah, affogato, espresso, like I don't even like. Yeah, dude. Oh my god, what the hell?
It's beautiful, man. Match made in heaven. Speaking of match made in heaven, Nami's outfit, brother, not bad. We get the full view of it. We see that Zeus is the one who actually tried to wake Nami up last chapter. I think a lot of people saw this idea. I saw it. I wasn't subscribed to it because I just didn't expect it. I was more like leaning on a new person. But the Zeus route, I love that because I am personally a big fan of Zeus. He's so dumb. He reminds me of my cats. Because my cats, oh my god, do they walk around? They're like really happy, cheery. They're walking over here, pooping on the ground. Not pooping on the ground, but like some of them have like a leaky butt, which is like a medical thing. But like, Zeus reminds me of like a lovable pet. So I'm just glad to see him just here doing things, getting lines. And I almost see it as kind of sad that Nami looks at Zeus and she's like, whoa, somebody save me. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, even Usopp. It's like, whoa. Zeus is right here. hey, you got Zeus, Nami. It's fine. You got a Nakama. But she starts walking around and go for it.
No, I was gonna say Zeus is like plenty. Like Zeus is honestly more appropriate. Like,
dude, he knocked out that beetle. Nami, she didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, and he just waking up. He wasn't even. That was like 1% of the power.
He wasn't even angry. Yeah, there's no black balls, dude. Like Zeus is this is base form Zeus taking out beetles, and that's what I'm saying. Like Nami, she reminds me of like an ADC in a video game. Like she's a glass cannon, brother. Yeah. Like Nami can go down super easily, right? You put any competent fighter in front of Nami, she's going down. But let me tell you, that attack output with Zeus is crazy.
Yeah, it's honestly like she wields the power that like Zoro and Sanji might be like, hold on, I don't know if I can tank this one. Like,
yeah. Like if you had to stand still and take Nami's blow, I think a lot of the verse is dropping.
Yeah,
like Nami's kind of cracked.
Between like Prometheus and Zeus's debut on Whole Cake Island, I don't know if people like remember how devastating that shit was. Like I remember looking at that, I was like. Because like the whole thing was like Luffy punched Big Mom, and then he got one hit on a fist clash, and he got deflated, right? And now he's not even fighting Big Mom; he's fighting Katakuri. But before that, they're running, and the thing was like, oh, can they fight Big Mom? Are they gonna turn around and turn it around? And then you see what Zeus and Prometheus did, and it's like, nope, they're leaving.
And not just that,
can't fight that.
But you can't even hurt them. Right, like with hockey or anything, like the only person that could actually hurt them was Brook because he could attack souls.
And now Zoro technically, but that only works on Flame Ren. So like, I don't know. We don't even know if that works on Zeus. It wasn't even
like a soul attack. Yeah, it was just like a fire attack more than anything. So it's like you can't Prometheus. Fight Zeus.
Yeah, it stalled Prometheus, but they still have to box him up. They had to box him up. Whereas Brook's one, it looked like from context, I think it like actually was like I'm a soul, don't hurt me, Soul King, but that wasn't Zoro.
It's weird. Like you would think that since it's a Devil Fruit power or Devil Fruit life power in a way, like Haki would be able to hurt it, but it hasn't so far. So it's like, dude, most people, like, as long as Nami keeps feeding Zeus, like this guy's kind of nuts.
Pandora being the sun god 100% makes sense. Who is stopping that? If Haki doesn't stop it, and then the Giants are like, they can't figure it out. This is a sun god. What are we talking about? You can't stop that 100%. It's easy.
Oh,
easy. Yeah.
So, I mean, Zeus debuts his power a lot in this chapter between the beetle and then next the hedgehog, because the hedgehog ends up chasing Nami, which is kind of funny, right? Nami turns around. She's like, okay, Usopp's being attacked. I'm being attacked. We got to deal with one of these. So she uses Zeus, who is back in her baton. He extends and he shocks the hedgehog so bad that when it hits the cat below, the cat gets electrocuted as well. Kind of insane. We finally meet Usopp here. They start running away together. and then they reach a dead end, and then Usopp recalls the absinthe and how it could cause hallucinations. He turns around, tries to fight the cat, and then he gets slapped into oblivion. And this line, I feel like... I don't even know how to feel about it yet, but it is spawning a lot of theories. Like, oh, like, what if this whole chapter is a hallucination? Have you seen that?
No. I've been online like that, though.
Good. Because I don't like the idea, personally.
What? Like, no, but like... Well, we talked about it a little bit, like the green fairy being like a thing, but like what part of this don't you like?
Okay, so the hallucinations are a thing, right? It happened during the missing day or two. That is without a shadow of a doubt, no questions. What I disagree with is that the hallucinations are taking place in this chapter. So we go on here. I'm just gonna skip ahead.
They're still hallucinating.
Yeah, people are saying they're still hallucinating, and I'll go back and I'll talk about the chapter in detail here in a bit. But just to skip ahead, like we have a mistake with Luffy using Gear 4th Gum Gum Elephant Whip. That's a Gear 3rd attack, right? There's a little bit of a mistake there. Another mistake people have pointed out was that Nami in one panel will have a sword. The next minute, she doesn't have a sword on her back. 1 minute, Luffy has a sword on his back, and then the next minute, it's an axe, right? So people are saying because of these inconsistencies with the drawings, that this is all one big hallucination and none of it is real. I don't agree with that mindset, because we have seen
simulation.
Yeah, because we've seen Oda make many mistakes like this in the past. Big mistakes as well. Like, Atlas's number is the first thing that pops in mind, because obviously we have the number mistake with Luffy, right? In the English translation, it says Gear 4. They spell it out, but in Japanese, it's like an actual number. We've seen mistakes like that in the past before already. And Oda is prone to make a lot of mini mistakes when it comes to details like this in the past, because it's Oda and his whole team. Plus, this is a brand new arc. They just got brand new outfits, right? The amount of times they've drawn Nami with the sword, 2 or 3 times. Luffy, twice. So I think it's simple, mistakes between the editing team and Oda. I don't think it's anything that deep. Even Oda himself has said that he and his team forget to draw even facial features with Ace, right? They say that, 92% of the time, this was an actual quote, but Oda said 92% of the time, he and his team forget to draw freckles on Ace. It just happens. And scars on Garp and scars on Shanks. Mistakes are prone to happen. And that's why I don't agree that this chapter is one big hallucination. Yes, hallucinations happened the day prior, the day they don't remember. But today, no, I think this is all real.
Yeah, and I haven't looked into it, but I can't substantiate what you're saying in the sense of Oda's been the one time I've seen him angrily respond to somebody, which he should, if he was on the internet, he'd be doing that 100%. Like that other author, I forgot who it was. It wasn't My Hero. It was one of the authors had a crazy snapback at somebody, but it was when someone was in the SBS was like, hey Oda, you messed up Oda's Zoro's sword on the thing, and he's like, I'm sorry that I've been giving you chapters every week for the last 15 years. Sometimes Zoro's swords is on the left side, and you calling me out, but you probably didn't notice the 60 times that I got it wrong prior, and we fixed it. Piece of shit. And that's literally his tone in the SBS, and that's with Zoro, right? And the thing is, right now, like you said, this is new outfits, and it's Nami doesn't normally have a sword, Luffy doesn't normally have an axe, but also on top of that, Oda's like you're saying, this chapter isn't a battle chapter. This is Oda super relaxed, in the sense of he's referencing Alabasta with the fight sequence. He's Usopp's outfit super cool. There's other highlighting things. We're on Elbaf throwing the Lego thing. He has to make sure those things are right. And that's what we talked about for the first 2 hours of the stream. All the nuance and details and connections that are really valuable. And the sword and thing, I get it. Because then you're oh, but these details are off, right? But the thing is, you go back to Egghead. They messed up Atlas, right?
And it was a giant character, giant number.
Vegapunk is a Vegapunk. And that was so problematic because from our standpoint, that fueled a lot of theories at the time that she's a traitor or an imposter. And then it got corrected in the volume, and it's oh, that was a mistake, right? Had Oda not announced that, that would have actually been a reader issue. You know what I mean? That would have been that wouldn't have been a reader's issue. That would have been a really problematic nuance to have lost, because then going into the whole Shaka thing, we would think that Atlas is the traitor, and it would make sense because the whole, switching thing. Whereas this one, Nami having an axe or Nami losing a sword that doesn't do much, and then Luffy having an axe versus a sword, like, that doesn't do much either, right? But Atlas's number changing, that is a huge detail, and they messed it up.
Another detail that I remember recently is when Shanks was at the bar in Elbaf and he was eating blueberries. He was standing beside blueberries, his number one most hated food in the verse. Oda had to go back and change that later, and guess what? Because we saw those blueberries, people were saying, "Oh, this isn't Shanks, guys. This is Stabs," and it's like, okay, like guys, come on, guys. And then if you go to any volume, you can go on the One Piece wiki and look at it for yourself. Type in any volume, there is a whole section dedicated to volume changes where Oda and his team go back and they fix things. I typed in volume 100 just for fun. They messed up 1, 2, 3, 4. They messed up 4 panels where they forgot to add Pedospedo's wounds because Carrot and Wanda scratched him in the face and they forgot to draw in the wounds. So Oda and his team had to go back and add all of that in. They had to add back in battle damage. And then there's another statement where a character was saying a line in chapter 1006, apparently, and since they didn't tell who did it or who said it, in the volume change, they had to add an image as to who said it. And then for Law, there's a panel where they forgot to draw his beard. Oda went back, drew the beard in. There's another one where, this is during the King fight, chapter 1009. Oda forgot to draw Zoro's bandana. 1 minute he puts it on, the next minute it's not there. Like, these changes, dude, there's like at least 10 changes per volume. So the fact that there's mistakes like this in one chapter, I don't think it's insane. We just started a brand new arc. Like, I'm going to cut Oda and his team slack. I don't believe in the hallucination theories. I don't think this is an egregious number either of mistakes. Well, you got to imagine, and like 1, 2, Luffy was in 3 panels, right? The sword changes to an axe. I don't think it's that crazy.
Yeah, and like the thing is, it's like that's where it's like the logistics of One Piece have to come into play, where it's a week-to-week thing and Oda's a part of, and like, it's not even the live action. Erase the live action. My guy is getting 3 hours of sleep without the live action. Like, so let's talk about that. We could blame the live action. I know people want to do that, like, time-wise, and it's there's valid part and there's an unvalid part, and I think the unvalid part is that Oda was stretching himself thin regardless. Like, like, he's doing it now to a higher extent, but at least if it's giving him happiness and he's doing that, then like, he was doing that, period, always done. And the thing is, that mistake, right, with the Zoro bandana one, that's the funniest one, because bandana scaling, right? People want to think like, the bandana, so when Oda puts the bandana on, that gives Zoro like 3 times power. You guys don't even know. And then Oda just forgot about the bandana because that part, the highlight of the Zoro versus the King thing, you could say it's the fight, sure, but my thing is that fight was like not incoherent, but less coherent in the thing, because the manga is so difficult to portray what Zoro and King are doing, a flying bat Lunarian, and like Zoro, Oda just has to get like the nitty gritty in, and then he's getting the backstory in, and he's like, my guy is on a time crunch, and it's like, he forgot a bandana one time. All right, that tells you that it's like, there's so many other focal points about Lunarians and Zoro and the sword that he has to hit to, that like he's just Zoro Lunarians flame on the back. I'm surprised he didn't mess with the flame on King's back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's because that was a battle point that he had to fix, right? Or to get correct.
And here's the thing: I went over to the next volume 101. There was a whole part where Oda accidentally drew beards on young Kaido. So he had to go back and erase the beard, which is hilarious. And then, substantiating the number thing, apparently Who's Who originally said that the Gumu Gumu no Mi was stolen 12 years ago, which is incorrect with his own timeline. So Oda went back and changed it to 13 years. And then when it came to the Beast Pirates going down, at first, Oda said that only 1,000 Beast Pirates went down. But when the volume released, he went back and said 2,000 pirates went down. Like, Oda messing up numbers, like, it's not crazy. And with Gear 3rd versus Gear 4th, we already have an example with Atlas's giant number being changed. And for both of these instances, they're also like the actual drawn out number. So it's not like, nuance in Japanese. No. Like, they got the number wrong.
Yeah,
Like they
I
just
actually
didn't
think
add it in or put the wrong one in.
I actually think Oda's gonna have to do the timeline thing again. It's these things are like minor to the progression of the current story, but they're major. Some of these things are major for the world building, right? And that's where a lot of other authors, that's the hardest part about these things. Like to have a continuous world building development over all these years, keeping things not just relevant but also coherent is so difficult, and that's something that Oda does really well. Mistakes are bound to happen, and it's like, how can he even like reference these certain things like himself, like the move names? He doesn't know the move names. He literally admitted he goes to the wiki and look in this chapter. If there's a mistake with a move name, boom, substantiated. He's just vibing. He was busy. He's like, gear forward, kick,
And
boom.
plus,
and then
you got to imagine there's like at least 10 different people that touch this manga that draw it and help Oda. So maybe Oda does one panel, the other guy does another panel, and it's like, yeah, like that is where discrepancies come in. You know, it's that easy.
Oda's
it's like a group project.
Go back to the Vegapunk message thing, and in the Vegapunk message thing, Vegapunk says that Roger's execution was 25 years ago, and that it's like roughly correct. But the thing is, it's weird because Oda doesn't give us the date of Roger's execution, and from what our timeline says, it was 24 years ago.
So Usopp, after he gets smacked, he gets smacked so hard that the cat actually breaks the castle, which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're like looking, I guess they're looking out a window. It's funny because like when I first read this whole segment, my thought was that they're on the roof of the castle. That's kind of what it seems like. But when the cat smacks Usopp, they're actually busting out the side of a building. So it must have been just a giant opening or giant window. But either way, the cat knocks them out. Balcony. They all fall down. And we see that the cat has now transformed into a lion. And not just that, but one like detail that I thought was pretty cool is that there's skulls and skeletons around them. So these aren't the first victims of Big Stein Castle. Like other people have been brought here as well. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, wait, they just send people here to die? Like, is this a prison? Like, it reminds me of Impelled Down Level 2, right? Like, it's like starvation hell in a way with all these giant beasts. And even the lion kind of reminds me of the Manticore, which are like, the giant butt forehead guys that we had back then. So it's like, yeah, like this is literally just Elbaf's version of Starvation Hell. This is Elbaf's version of Impelled Down, which granted, we don't know why the Straw Hats are here, right? Like, were they sent here by accident? Did they like jump here and they just fell asleep? Or did they commit a crime during their drunken rampage, right? They came to Elbaf, they did a lot of crazy things because they're hallucinating, and then boom, they're like, oh, you guys are now in jail. Have fun in Big Stein Castle.
I just realized an interesting probability is that the reason why the locals revere and say like a sun god, ear god, that kind of thing, if the war, like the battles that we talked about earlier, happen, then it's likely that the reason why they win or they've survived is because the lion exists and the rabbit exists. They're gods because they're the winners. Like, people come to the island trying to take it over, trying to burn down or whatever, but they can't because they're the guardian, which would make sense if like Luffy and them landed here and then the cat is dealing with it, right, as the guardian of the thing, which is why they would be like reported to or revered or like give tribute to, kind of like on Skypiea, right? They coexisted with this giant snake, and what do they do to fix their problems? They sacrifice their daughters, right, or the girls, right? So it could be that that's the same nuance here, I guess. They revere the big animals as gods. And the gods, what do? They protect the land. How do they protect the land? Well, they're big and strong and formidable. And so they make the Big Stein Castle for the cat so the cat can go stay there. And maybe occasionally have to send a plaything. And that plaything might be Nami's, like beautiful women, because the cat likes women or something like that. I don't know. And he doesn't, like, he plays with the women and then these are the skulls, or maybe these are the dudes trying to get back the women. It could be something like that.
Or maybe
they're largely the protector.
They stepped on a Lego brick and they died because it hurts.
Yeah. Which, Nami's stronger than most of us, right? She didn't say a single owie.
Have you ever stepped on a Lego block?
Oh, 100%. It doesn't hurt as much, but it depends the angle.
Yeah.
Those
I haven't. I'm one of the lucky few I still have my feet, thank God. If you saw me at a convenience store, throw back to the beginning of the Parcast here, but you'd call me legs because I still have both of them. I never stepped on a Lego block, man, so I'm living the good life. But these guys, let me tell you, they were not so lucky.
Yeah, I didn't step on one as a child because like
it was like as an adult.
Yeah, it wasn't as an adult. Like I was at some place where they were because I didn't have Legos growing up. Like I don't remember if we had Legos. I had Legos at school and outside.
God, I love Legos, man.
I was a Lego champion. Fun fact, actually, I was in Lego competitions. But
would you buy a One Piece Lego set if they released one?
Yeah, for my son, 100%.
Not for you?
My brother actually. Now I remember, my brother got Lego stuff, but my parents didn't buy me Lego stuff because they were expensive.
Yeah, they're expensive, man.
I like Legos again. Like I love Legos. I built a lot of Lego stuff, but like for me, like doing stuff at home as a leisure thing, they're not really like following the thing. It doesn't really do much for me. You know what I mean? Like
that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just like building Legos. Like I haven't done it in years. I just want to do it for like nostalgia purposes at this point.
I would, because like, so the specific thing is like, I think that Legos are super valuable for development and stuff like this. So for like my son, 100% get him in Lego, put him into it. Me personally, I wouldn't do it for myself. Like if I didn't have my son,
what if
I don't think I'd get the Lego set, right?
Okay.
But because my son, I would love to build it with him and I'd love building it.
Let's say somebody kidnapped your family, your wife, your son, your parents, your wife's parents, and all of them. And they said, hey, Par, if you want them back, you have to build a Lego set. Would you build a Lego set?
Easily. That's cakewalk.
All right. I just wanted to make sure that, you didn't hate Legos that much.
Yeah, I was punching above weight class. I was, like the S tier difficulty 12-year-old. I was doing that like 5 or 6 easily.
Yeah. Were you competitive as a kid?
Oh, yeah. I was in Lego competitions. I won them.
I think competition for kids is really good. I feel like being competitive in general is always really good as like a personality trait. Like I remember when I was a kid, my park and neighborhood, they had like an Easter egg competition. They sent like 10 kids out there to go look for eggs. And I remember like pushing girls down, like as like a little like 8-10-year-old, just because I really wanted to get the most eggs and win like a little basket of candy that I was never going to eat because I don't eat candy. And I just wanted like the victor. I wanted to be number 1.
Yeah. That's like me with piñatas. I started being banned from piñatas because one, kids are unathletic. So like there's a lot of times where they went to birthday parties and just surrounded by a bunch of uncoordinated, unathletic people who couldn't hit the thing. Like piñatas aren't that durable.
Oh wait. One of the 9 lands of Elbaf could be Candyland.
Yeah.
Yo,
easily. Chopper
give us Candyland. Cotton candy lover Chopper, man. The dude's just munching down.
Yeah, easily. And that might be the favorite place too.
Easy, yeah. Oh yeah. Like we haven't gotten a Candyland yet. We have like whole cake, but that's like dessert, right? That's like dessert and sweets and treats. Like we've never had like a Candyland, right?
Parasparrow's the candy guy.
Oh, damn it, you're right.
He had a land.
Yeah.
I think he had a land. He was a minister of candy, so we never saw where he took Caesar. He just said that like he could make an entire facility for him.
Oh, there's a candy island already in Totland. So it's game over. Yeah, rest in peace this idea. Sad day.
That's not to say that there's not a version of that though. Like
maybe like giant candy, right? It's a little bit different.
Not just giant candy, but I'm trying to remember. Like this, there's sweets that probably. I mean, hey, like, where's the what's it called? The Schnitzel land. Where's the sausage land?
Oh, Donair land. Yeah. Oh, huge. Oh,
yeah. I mean, Winner's Island. People are saying that's Wiener's Island.
Wiener's
Because the anime made it like Vincent Chansard made it look like giant just dongs, and I'm like, they're not wrong, but like, and that's like relatively in the, because apparently Law went the close like the first, like maybe that's still in the Elbaf area. Who knows, right?
Yeah. I think it's kind of funny if Oda ever did like give us giant candy. He could give us like giant jawbreakers. Have the Strawhats ever ate jawbreakers before?
No, but Ed, and Eddie, bro.
Yeah, that's why I thought about it, because I was like, yo, like jawbreakers, man. Ed and Eddie was one of my favorite shows growing up.
Yeah. Oh, lemon heads and fireballs, bro. If a piñata had lemon heads and fireballs, I would go. Oh man, wait. Oh man, we need to go to a Mexican island, bro. The giant scene of Mexico, a giant piñata
Mexico land,
where you beat the animals and candy falls out. Oh.
That'd be so brutal. Oh no! But here, all the animals on that land, they can talk. So whenever they're getting killed and eaten, they're like saying, "Please stop."
Yeah. So here's another thing about me and piñatas, right? I thought piñatas were the most sadistic, or I don't even know if it's the weirdest word. It's the craziest thing because my parents got me a piñata, I think once or twice, but like, yeah, it didn't work at my place because I'd go first because I'm the birthday boy, and then I'd break it, and then no one else had like a lot of fun. We did like musical chairs and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? But the problem with the piñata thing was I remember as a kid, my parents were like, oh, like you really like this stuff, and I was like, why would I want to pick the thing that I like the most to be a piñata? Because then I'm just beating like all these kids that get the princess Frozen thing. I'm like, that's crazy because that just means that you're picking Elsa to just beat her ass. And I'm like, me as a kid, I'm like, damn, like
crazy backstory with piñatas. Like I honestly, like when we first brought up piñatas, I didn't think you'd go this deep, but you're a psychopath.
I'm thinking like, yo, all these kids are beating up their favorite characters. They got Buzz Lightyear, they got Woody, they got Elsa. I go to a kid's birthday party, like, wow, look at my Elsa piñata. I'm like, you know, you're gonna beat her senseless, right? Like that's crazy. And like I remember when I was a kid,
take her head off.
I was just like, no, I think I got a car one because it's like whatever.
Yeah,
you know, just like it's a car. And you know, I mean, I'm not violent towards vehicles, but like, but then the kids with the dogs and the cat piñatas, I'm like, yo, they need to be watched.
You know, I'm gonna throw this question back to everybody watching right now, but like, guys, if you had to beat a piñata, what would you want it to be shaped of? Well, what would you want that piñata to look like? You know, would it look like a cat, a dog, a pony? You know, Great Aunt Meredith. Like, let me know. Let us know down below, y'all.
It's so funny because my wife is the type to like just be like like, you know, she's like the happy-go-lucky, like, wow, piñata, wow thing. And I remember when we were kids, she's just like talking about the piñata. I'm like, and then I explained my perspective, and she's like, you're terrible. And now she can't look at piñatas the same way. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, like these kids just beat up Dora in front of us.
Yeah, beat her lifeless, man. Hell yeah, go for it. Do it. Do it on. Kill him.
That was the piñata when we were kids. Like we were 9 or 10 or something, and I didn't partake. And she's like, "You're not gonna do the piñata thing?" I was like, "You know, I like Dora. I don't want to beat her senses." Like, what do you mean? I'm like, "Watch, look at what these kids do to Dora." We watched them, and when the piñata, like, it was broken, right? Like Dora's head fell off. Then the kids ripped her apart and started stomping on the thing. And like once they were done, I'm like, "You see these savages?" Like,
and then they're eating her insides. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
And my wife just like looked at me, and I remember, dude, oh god, great times. Great times.
So speaking of eating things alive, this lion, man, it's licking its lips. It's like, I can't wait to beat these guys black and blue and tear them from the inside out. And
do you think the lion was trying to eat Usopp and everything, or is he just trying to like tame him?
I think he's trying to eat. I mean, dude, the way he's licking his lips, come on. Like, there's only one reason somebody licks their lips. They either got no chapstick or they're hungry. I think this guy's hungry. I think they're hungry. I think this son of a gun is hungry, man.
The next chapter, the lion is just like, "I'm so sorry, guys." Pulls out chapstick.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I just needed to wet my lips. I apologize.
Oh god.
Yeah, maybe Vaseline, I think that was a meme back in like old cartoons where like there was some character that had to lick his lips before he could talk because his lips were so dry.
Probably.
I mean, that sounds right?
It sounds like something old cartoons could get away with some crazy like innuendo, but like, yeah.
I think it was Tom and Jerry. I don't even think it was like a talking thing. I think it was like I I'm gonna trigger like this vague memory in everybody because I'm sure we have all seen it before. But like, there's a scene specifically that I recall. I just don't know what cartoon it relates to, where there's some animal character who has their lips get super chapped, dry, or frozen, and they try to put chapstick on it, but their lips end up shattering.
SpongeBob? I think SpongeBob
I don't think that was
SpongeBob. And he had to like windmill his tongue. Like he had to prepare for something. It was either SpongeBob or Patch Pig. And then there's
I don't think so.
And then
no, it wasn't SpongeBob.
Check out SpongeBob chapped lips. Maybe it was that. I think I remember something where like,
no, it was SpongeBob. It wasn't. Okay, to be fair, it wasn't SpongeBob. No, it's an unnamed character, actually.
Really?
It was in the King of Karate movie. Okay, here. I have the full context of what I'm talking about. It's in a SpongeBob episode where they're cosplaying as Kung Fu masters. Sandy is dressed up as Bruce Lee, and the villain she's fighting is a lady with big lips, and her attack is to send her lips out to suck other people. So she hits Sandy's glass so many times that it ends up drying. Or no. Sandy uses a blow dryer on her lips. Her lips end up drying and get really cracked. She tries to put chapstick on, and then her lips shatter.
I don't remember this episode, but I had to have watched it.
Yeah, we've all watched it. We all know this right here.
This
SpongeBob
sounds
was great back in the day.
Not SpongeBob, bro. Sandy was dressed up as Bruce Lee. I remember a Kung Fu one when they were wearing the glove and the thing, but that's not this episode. This is a different episode.
Yeah, the Bruce Lee outfit is just the classic like yellow and black suit.
Yeah, I don't.
So it's not like Sandy put on like Asian face and like has a wig on. No, she's just got the suit on.
SpongeBob chapped lips. Let me see.
Yeah. Pull up the image for yourself. Yeah, you remember now?
You're right.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the one I'm remembering is SpongeBob dry lips when he had to play Squidward's clarinet. That's what I remember. And so in order to play it, I think Squidward was trying to teach him it, and then SpongeBob goes, and then Squidward's just like seeing the slow-mo of his like drooling lip, and he's like cringing, and SpongeBob's like, I just have to wet my lips, and then he's like slowly inching to the clarinet. That's what I remember, but this is also that's
crazy that you thought of SpongeBob right away though.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I was hoping this would be like one of those mysteries we don't solve for a while, just so that we can have like a bunch of like a lot of conspiracy theories about it. But your memory's too strong. You've got we got to change your name. You're no longer the Par Vision. You're now the Par Mind.
The Par Punk.
The Par Punk. Oh, speaking of punk, actually, damn, no, it doesn't make any sense to bring it up here. I'll bring it up near the end. But
okay.
As far as the lion transformation goes, like, why do you think this son of a gun transformed? Like what turned him from a cat to a goddamn lion?
This is my take, and this has been a thing since the beginning of my channel, which is elemental hockey, some kind of like normal, natural thing that like allows you to access devil fruit powers. And the contingency that I said all the way almost 3 years now, like 3 years now, is that Elbaf will be the place where, if this is a thing, if we get natural, like people with devil fruit powers without devil fruits, Elbaf should be the place where we get like some more of that. And the thing is, we do get a lot, like we have sentient shields, right? Like, did Mother Kalma, was she involved with that? Well, we don't know, but we know the new giant pirates have sentient shields. What's that about? The whole thing is like, we still don't know about sentient weapons and devil fruit animal guns and cannons and swords and stuff like that. So like, is Oda saving all the shenanigans for Elbaf because Elbaf will have like crazy animal stuff? And so we just got the Gorosei, who seemingly naturally transformed, or not naturally transformed, but were given a power to transform or I say given, we don't particularly know exactly how it is, but it's some kind of like without devil fruit power that gives them that form. And I'm saying that primarily because Oda didn't put the name card on the on the powers like he does with every other devil fruit power. He tells us the devil fruit name, and he did that contextually just before that and after that. And so what we have here is a possibility that this cat can naturally transform into a lion. And I know that sounds crazy, but like this would fit with like Kaido's fruits mythos, right? Where it's a carp that was the one of one carp that was able to climb the waterfall and turn into a dragon. And like when you think about that, like jokes aside, but like if we were to apply One Piece logic, that carp has haki. That carp like has like spiritual energy, right? Like in the same scope of when like Rayleigh was on Ruskaina and he was just like, yo, like I could tell like there's this many animals as strong as you, Luffy, or whatever, like at this power level. And he's saying like most animals don't have a certain power level, but like these ones do, and they're super big and super strong and like blah blah blah. And then we play around with the idea that the dugongs get haki or whatever, stuff like that. And like and some animals have voice of all things, and if that's haki related, it's like it's not crazy to think that some of these animals might delve into the haki stuff. And it so might be that the king of the cats ends up becoming the lion and ends up becoming able to transform. It might be a natural thing. And then I also said earlier, in Norse mythologies, dwarves, some depictions have dwarves being able to transform into animals. And so when they say report to the sun god, it could be that this is actually just a person who's able to transform into a cat and a lion, and they just stay in that form because that's their thing. That's their what's it called? Role, position to be domineering or whatever, the sun god. And then the other part is we don't know how the giants portray devil fruits yet, because we have yet to see a native giant, I guess, like have a devil fruit. We don't know Senwan Wolf's like thing because he was in like Impel Down, and none of the other giants have devil fruits. And the thing is, with these isolated nations, Fishman Island thought that devil fruits were curses because they would not be able to swim. And then what's it called?
Wano thought they were
ninjutsu. Sorcery, yeah, or jutsu, one or the other, whether it's magic, whether it's a jutsu, whether it's ninja stuff, right? And that's a positive, neutral slash. You want to say positive, neutral thing because it had like a cursed connotation when Orochi saw. He's like, whoa, that's a jutsu. You know what I mean? Like not jutsu. He said a sorcery. You're a sorceress. But then when like if Raizo is out here doing jutsu, and then so is Fukuroku. Fukuro, whatever the guy's name was, the long-eared guy. And I'm like, yo, why weren't more people doing this? You know what I mean? Like, why wasn't more people tapping into the jutsus? But then with Elbaf, it's interesting because like none of the giants that we know have them, and they might not have the same portrayal of devil fruits that we do. And the thing is, if Nika, the legend of Nika comes from there, and Nika was the progenitor of Luffy's fruit, he's not a devil fruit then, he's the person. So like it might be like I was saying, like this is in my Shadows theory, this is in my Gear 5 theories, like prior to this understanding, it was that like Nika was a person and somehow got put into a devil fruit. And that's why like in my Chopper video from 3 years ago, I was thinking that Joy Boy wasn't going to be in a human fruit, because if they were the progenitor, they were the thing, then they had to get passed on somehow, and we got a variation of that. And so that would mean that like whatever Luffy's showing was applicable by somebody who didn't have the fruit. It wouldn't make like he was Nika, and Luffy's power as Nika would be that guy's power. Like Lucci turns into a leopard. The leopard didn't need anything to be helped to turn into a leopard. You know what I mean? Like he's just a leopard. You know, and that's the idea where it's like I'm thinking that the giants are able to get the devil fruit powers without devil fruits in haki, and it just might be because they have longer lifespans that they're able to do what I tied to life return. Because life return, if you remember from Eni's lobby, what was the guy's name? Was that guy's name? No, Fukuro was what was the name?
Kumadori.
Kumadori, yeah. Kumadori said like 100 years on the mountain, 100 years in the ocean, 100 years basically being a sage, and then he's able to master all parts of his body and morph it. And the thing is, all that training that he did, he was still only able to do his hair. But you give giants lifespan 100. Look at the giants; they have mad long beards and stuff like that. But a giant with 300 years base lifespan, it seems like they would be the more applicable to not just being good at hockey, but also just do the life return stuff, being able
Yeah.
to morph into things. And where is the end limit on that? Because Nika's just like, if you really dissected Nika's powers are like life return dialed to the max. If you really want to break it down.
And when you break, when you break into this as well, like people have been pointing out that in like chapter, I think it was 424, Usopp mentioned like, oh, once a cat lives 100 years, its tail splits into two and it turns into a lion. So, if we're going off the thematic that this is all equated to like their long lifespan, that could be a play there. And even outside of that, like we could even explain it by saying that maybe the Yggdrasil tree is what's giving them this power too. Because in a lot of mythology, like when we look at the Yggdrasil tree, or even, I kind of go back to like the spirit tree from Berserk, like that is a source of power for a lot of animals. So it's like, maybe there's a chance that Yggdrasil is what's powering this guy. Or people have also brought up the crown. Like this animal has a crown and it de-transforms back into a cat. Yes, once it's beaten, but also Sanji breaks the crown in half. So maybe there's something there too.
Yeah.
So there could be a lot of things at play here with this cat lion thing. I think the transformation is super sick. And yeah, like I think it's awesome that this is like a running thematic. I love how we don't know a lot, right? There's a lot to play with. There's a lot of different ideas here. And, speaking of animals that can transform, we're on that last page now, and Chopper is not here. Chopper is not with the Straw Hats. Chopper is not with this group of Straw Hats. Chopper is MIA. People are saying there's a chance he's not even on Elbaf, and that's fair. That's fair. He could have been sent to Davy Jones's locker for all we know. But I'm going to take that leap and say Chopper's on Elbaf. And I think we're on the same boat when we think that Chopper could be celebrated as a god. Because, with all of Norse mythology, they have like a specific thing with deers, right? They celebrate deers. There's deers. You pointed out multiple times that deers like live and eat off the leaves of Yggdrasil. And a lot of... I didn't realize how many people love Norse mythology, by the way. Like, the minute we hit Elbaf, everyone became, like, a Norse expert. Which, not an expert. They didn't become it. They've always been it. Like, my thumbnail artist, who draws a lot of the thumbnails that you guys see on the channel, like, the guy, he's from there, so he's going crazy when, like, this is all happening. He's hitting me up with theories every, like, other day. And so that's super cool. Like, it's good to see so many people passionate about this arc. And, yeah, like, one of the main themes is that deers are celebrated. So when Chopper shows up and Chopper can transform just like this lion... Like, literally, he goes from, like, well, not literally, but, like, he has, like, the small cute form, which is the cat, and then he transforms into monster point, horn point, arm point, like, all these different transformations. And hell, if he went crazy, he might even have a Sulong, right? We don't know what he's doing with medicine. He gave that to Beppo. Maybe he has one for himself. But, yeah, Chopper can transform. There is a scenario where Chopper is a god here. He could be the horn god, the deer god. He could be the blue nose god, which I love the blue nose tie-in. Because that is one of the things and reasons why he was ostracized in the past, because of his blue nose. The other deer around Drum Island hated him because of that. He was weird. But maybe here on Elbaf, they're like, dude, that blue nose is sick. Like that is the bee's knees. Yeah. Like I think there's a lot of possibilities with Chopper on this island, and I think I am really excited to see what's happening with them, because base level, like a lot of things with Chopper. Not like they're unresolved or need explanation, but there's a lot of room for Oda to grow and expand his character between him being a reindeer, to the Tanuki joke, to the blue nose, to even the devil fruit. Like Monster Point even. Like Monster Point's still kind of crazy to us. Like what the hell is that? Like I think there's a lot here that Oda could do with Chopper, and I'm excited. With this arc, it doesn't have to be just Usopp. It can be Nami. It can be Chopper. It can even be Frankie, Luffy. Like, I think everybody has something to take away. Even Sanji. Sanji says, yo, those bees? Nutritious. That's good for you. Like, I think everyone can benefit here, man.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like, one of the things about Elbaf is I think everybody benefits also because of the environment. Like it's not just one country, it's a region, and the Scandinavian region is so vast and so diverse in a lot of ways. Like a lot of, like you think it's cold, it's Viking, but like, yeah, the Legos come from there too. And like the food stuff is like the one thing, No offense, but like they might not got the best the food stuff locked down. But that's part of the course with like what they had options. If you got an icy land, a cold land, like you're just happy you got food.
Oh
So
god,
like
it must smell bad in Elbaf. Like imagine if they don't take a shower and that BO hits. Oh my god. Giant BO? Holy crap.
Here's one thing about Elbaf that should be in line is this is a major part of the theory, which was that Elbaf is probably the largest source of fresh water available in any other country in period, because in order to sustain that tree you need fresh water.
To sustain the giants you need fresh water.
Exactly. And that's the thing about Iceland is that they're like they just have fresh water everywhere. It's like not an issue. Like they just get fresh water from the water, like the ground, and it's purified from the volcanic rocks and stuff. Obviously they have systems for it, but they don't even need to do that to a certain extent, because like the volcanic rock would filter out the thing and then you could just pull the water from the ground. And it's like, what the hell? Well, I get dookie water if I pull water from my ground. And they got that nice Poland spring level, not Poland spring, but like, Icelandic spring water there. I do want to taste that, The closest thing we got is that bottled Fiji water,
I hate
Poland
Fiji
spring,
all
that bottled water. But
it
I want to
reminds
go
me,
there.
There's like a clip on Twitter where like Asmongold's drinking water as a meme. If you watch the full video, it's like a whole joke. But Asmongold drinks like Fiji water, and he's like, "Ugh, what is this? Who drinks water?" And it's like, well, like that's also my reaction if I drank Fiji water. It's I don't know. There's something about it that's just kind of like off. Like maybe it's just the cleanliness of it, the purity of it. But I'm just like, ooh, give me like my Dasani or something, dude. I don't know.
Bro, Dasani's the grossest water.
No, Dasani's good. It's flavored.
Dasani is Pepsi's dookie water, dude.
No, it's literally good. Aquafina Pepsi, then.
I think Aquafina's Coca-Cola's dookie water. Those are the two worst ones.
Why do you hate my water?
I don't hate your water. It's just you better off drinking Flint, Michigan water at that point.
No, like. You're not. That's propaganda. No, what are you, the Flint, Michigan mayor?
It's
Come
not.
on.
I literally, when I was
you live in Italy?
I drank. No, oh, the Italy meme's crazy. The mineral, your water. Americans don't have mineral, and it's like, no. Actually, no. It's the flip. It's the flip of like people like looking at like our water, and then they'll be like, why is there? They'll look at the water bottle and be like, why is there sodium chloride in my water? Let me look at them. They'll look at like a scientific word for a mineral, and they'll be like, why is there magnesium phosphate in the thing? That's not a thing, but like, and then it's like, bro, that's in every, like, that's in all the waters. That's in the waters. And then so like Americans would go off of that, like, our water is poisoning us.
I just remember the Olympic game where the people like hopped in the waters of Italy and they start throwing up because it was so gross.
What? I did not see that.
Yeah, that's what I saw. That's what spawned that meme.
Oh, I was thinking the American who came to Italy and drank their bottled water, and like it was like, oh my god, this is so good. They put the minerals in it, and I'm like, and there's like some fitness guru type thing. I don't remember the full context, but I remember like the Europeans like, yeah, you guys don't drink water, and like, sure, whatever, but like Fiji water does there's a different taste to it for sure, but I'm like, it's not worth the price. I feel like I've been plenty fine with my Poland spring water, which that one's not even the best. I'm also like the alkaline, that kind of stuff, like, yeah, whatever, it's fine, whatever, people on that stuff too. But yeah,
Elbaf
has that good water.
I
literally want to go to Iceland literally to try the water. Like people might think silly.
Just go to Japan. Japan has the third best water in the world.
Okay, but like meaning my point with that was like I could go to Japan for a lot of other reasons. Water wasn't up there, but Iceland is like the two things about Iceland is I want to go see like the Aurora Borealis and stuff like that. I want to go see like the computer farms, the volcanic computer farms, and then the water. I want to taste the water. Obviously, the swimming there, that too. Like those pictures where like it looks like an imaginary place, and then someone walks into this thing, and it's like, wait, that was a real place. Like 9 times out of 10, it's Iceland, and it's just like this random fjord or whatever it's called. Yeah, and they're just like, that's just someone's backyard. I'm like, that's not fair. That's just not like.
what's going on
if
here?
this was America, we would like invade your country for that. Like that'd be Disneyland at that point.
God. So on to the last parts of the chapter. We got Luffy and the boys showing up, saving Nami, saving Usopp, which is kind of funny because, you know, I was hyping up Zeus earlier, and I still think that Zeus could probably take this guy down. Like, yeah, Zeus already electrocuted him, but hey, no harm in doing it, you know, 2 or 3 more times. You know, Usopp's pretty strong too. Like, I think Usopp doesn't give himself a lot of credit, but he didn't even try to fight this guy. You know, he was only running. So it's like, wait, if Nami and Usopp stood their ground, I think they could take him, right? This isn't like an ulti, a page 1. Like, nah, it's just the lion.
Yeah.
But
I don't.
Yeah.
I think it's bigger deal that Usopp did turn around. Like, I don't know what got over. He's like, it's an illusion.
He said, hallucination? Sign me up.
Yeah. Old Usopp would have been like, even if it's an hallucination, I'm still afraid. What do you mean? That doesn't change it.
You know what's silly? Is that
What?
Usopp says that after being chewed out by the cat.
Yeah.
Usopp gets chewed out by the cat, and then the minute he remembers hallucinations are a thing, he says, you know what? It can't hurt me. It's like, brother, it already hurts you. What are you talking about?
That was when Usopp said that and turned around, I was like, you're so dumb. And then
it's
I was
good
expecting
gag.
something crazy, and then he got like slapped. And I was like, oh, see, that's it. Perfect. Great.
So,
good job.
The boys show up. They do the 162 chapter attack against the Pandora lizard, but upgraded. Super cool. Love it. And then that is when we get the realization that not only did they defeat the Ear God, but they ate his ass, bro. Ear God is gone, which I kind of wonder if the Giants will care about that. You know, since he's a, quote, god. Like, there's a chance that they don't care because the Straw Hats are, like, you know, friendly with Dory, Brogy. Maybe they see Luffy as a sun god and, like, okay, god versus god, who cares? Survival of the fittest. Or this could be a big deal. You know, I think we're pretty 50-50 on that. But as far as the fits go, my man, these guys look clean as hell. Luffy with an axe on his back, which is a callback to chapter, I think, 11 or 14, where Oda was talking about Vikings. He drew Luffy with an axe. Zoro with the goggles, callback to Skypiea, also call to, I was about to say V for Vendetta. No. Zoro, like the actual, like, mask dude. That Zoro is inspired by. And then Sanji looks like a knight, which, hey, Nami's 9 shining armor, right? It's perfect. I think these fits are fabulous. So one thing I want to point out, and this is a theory I was talking about earlier with the Punk and Kid and stuff, but Zoro says we have to find the sea first. Our ship comes first. We don't know how the rest of the crew is doing. And it made me wonder, and I have a whole video already planned out for this. It's going to release sometime this week. I just need to edit it out. But what if the Straw Hats, not this group, but what if the other Straw Hats follow what Robin and Frankie were talking about, and they do look for big fish that probably ate the crew, right? Because that's what Robin said, like, oh, like maybe the fish ate him, and then Frankie was like, you know what? That might have happened. Like the fish here are freaking massive, and it's like, wait a minute, we've been wondering like how is Kid going to survive? Like, will a fishman save him? Will Law Beppo save him? Will a giant save him? And I was like, wait, what if they weren't saved? Like, what if they're inside a giant fish? What if a fish ate them and their ship? And then the Straw Hats are the ones who save them now. Because I thought about it, and I was like, wait a minute. Like, they're exactly what the Straw Hats are looking for. Like, imagine Jinbei, who can communicate with fish. He goes down, he's like, hey, fish guys, did you guys eat a ship along with our captain? The fish would respond with, yes, we did. We literally ate them. And then, of course, like, that would be Kid and Killer. Like, because they are exactly what they're looking for in a way. Without, like, getting into descriptors, that's them. So I could totally see this being a case. It could be a spin on how Luffy lost to Kaido at Onigashima and then was rescued by Law's crew. Here, Kid lost to Shanks and now he's rescued by Luffy's crew. And it's like, yeah, like, it's the perfect parallel. It would fit Kid. It would be that would bring him back into the story. And I know people don't like Kid, right? There's going to be like people in here who are like, boo, Kid, F that guy. But it's like, no, like, sure, we can hate Kid, but he's still going to be here, right? Like, he's not dead. Like, it's One Piece. Like, dude, I put money down that Hawkins is still alive. And nobody cares about Hawkins.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how it is.
Some people put money that Pedro's still alive. Like...
Who is that person? It's like going back to Alabasta. Pell survived, and then Ashura Doji died. It's really just based on like relevance, I guess. And you can't tell me that kid is not relevant. Like, the only reason why I'm mad but he's relevant though.
The only reason why I'm mad that Ashura Doji died is because Kinemon lived. Like, if Kinemon died, then Ashura's Doji's fine, right? But like, my God, like to have Kaido do that to Kinemon, and then Kinemon lives, and then Ashura dies to Dynamite. It's like, all right,
that's so funny. Like, everybody I talk to, they always bring up how much they hate the fact that Kinemon survived. Like, I don't think I've met a single person, a single person I've talked to One Piece about who enjoyed Kinemon living.
There's no way to no rational person can rationalize it. So the moment someone says like, "Oh no, it makes sense," you're not rational. I'm sorry, because the thing is, the strongest, quote unquote, strongest Cypher Pole agent died one hit. That's it. That's crazy. We have that now confirmed. He did die. We saw him die, and it was the thing that Kinemon lived 4 times. And it's like, okay,
Kinemon survived a lot on that island, brother. Like, Kinemon got hurt a lot. And he lived. And the thing is, for me, I never noticed how much I disliked it until I started talking to everybody else, which I think it could just be like I'm being painted by everybody around me, like, oh, everybody hates Kinemon? You know what? I hate Kinemon too. Or, not hate Kinemon, but, hate the plot point. I think the reason why I didn't care at the time back in Wano is because I didn't care for Kinemon that much. Yeah, if I painted all the Scabbards on a list, like, for me, Ashura Doji was number 1, and that's why I'm so sour about that one event. I'm like, dude, really? Ashura Doji?
I mean, for me, the Scabbards didn't really matter to a certain extent, because like they very quickly lost their like priority in the story, and it was so sad. But like when they all stabbed Kaido, right? And we talked about this like 2 weeks ago. The reason why they sucked ass is because they were shoehorning themselves to fight Kaido, when reality tells us that they could have soloed all the rest of Onigashima. The rest of besides
Put this in RPG terms, right, or strategy terms, right? You're playing Frostpunk. This is what it is, right? You can either do 2%, maybe 3% of damage to Kaido's health bar, or you could you could defeat all the beast pirates on Onigashima, right? Like, here's the 2 options. What would you do? Because the Scabbards, yes, they're weak in the grand scheme of like the Strawhats, the Supernova, whatever. But they were fighting Jack and King and Queen, and they were doing pretty well in the past. Like, they could have just focused on them and left the 100% of health bar to the Strawhats and to everybody else. Like, imagine you take, like, who was held up here, right? You take Sanji, you take, Sanji was fighting Queen. Sanji, Zoro, you take all of the Straw Hats and you send them to the rooftop instead. Like, I think they would have made more impact on Kaido. I really do.
Like, the only group that, like, the other group that similarly, the Sulong, right? But I get it, because like there was a bunch of people that they were fighting besides, they weren't fighting Kaido, they were fighting Jack and company, right?
Yeah.
And they did the damage. They defeated them. They won. All right, fine, give them the thing. But also the Sulong would have ran down on Onigashima, bro. Remember earlier when you were reading, but the sky split in the cloud. My God, the Sulong and Scabbards ran. And the thing is, the other part about it is the Scabbards already ran down Kaido and company 20 years ago, and they were like winning. Like, they were just mopping. The only people that stopped them was Kaido and Inuarashi. Like, and the thing is, we now know that Queen and King were definitely there, because they were there, the timeline with Queen and there was no mention of them, and the Scabbards were winning, like, sort of, like, kind of. You know what I mean? It wasn't an easy battle, but they were already doing that.
At the end of the day, you could look at that though, and you could rationalize it and say that yes, they could have done other things that were better, but they had to fight Kaido because it was based off of emotions, right? They wanted that direct revenge. So like, while they could have been utilized and fight other people, which is kind of crazy to think about, right? Like, because back in the day, we had like Kinemon fighting King and like all these crazy matchups. It's like, wait, how are they surviving this? But they did, Oda, if he wants to power him up, sure, why not? But
Wildfire King versus Fire Fox King.
Yeah, that's how he got the nickname. That's where he first learned Flame Rend, just to beat King.
Yeah, from the fight, he was just like, I saw Odin do it to Kaido's Boro breath, and I took that personally.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's just like it's an emotional battle. Like I can't fault him that much, right?
yeah.
Like if I was their leader, if I was like a dictator, I'd be like, guys, you are not fighting Kaido. Like you're fighting everyone else. We're gonna like I would look at the Strawhats like they're fighting Kaido. Like Kid Law, bring him in, why not? But dude, my God, you guys deal with everybody else, please.
When you really think about it, Law sending the Scabbards up in the first place, Law's the person to be like, this is a stupid plan, guys. This is a really dumb idea.
You gotta remember, Law sent them up, and then he also brought them down.
And let's not forget, like, let's do the Twitter, TikTok meme of like, oh, Scabbards run the gauntlet. Where did they stop? They stopped at Kanjuro. They literally got held up by Kanjuro.
But that's another emotional battle, which I think that's the thematic of One Piece. I mean, not One Piece, but like Onigashima. Like it wasn't down to like power really for them. It was more so just like emotionally, like based on the past and all their scars. Who do they fight? Kanjuro. They fought Orochi, and then they fought Kaido. Right, just the main people that messed them up.
They fought fake Odin. That's where Ashura Doji died.
They didn't even fight him. I mean, Ashura Doji just took one for the team. I don't know. Like, when you think about it, right? Like, Ashura Doji hugged the fake Odin and jumped off the building. When you really think about it, he could have just kicked him. He could have just kicked him out that window. He was right there. Like, you don't have to, like, jump out the window. Like, kick him, dude. Push him. You have a sword. We've seen Ashura Doji do a sword slash, send him away. It's not that crazy. God. I don't know. I loved Ashura Doji. The thing with Doji, the reason why I like him so much is one, I think his design is kind of goofy. It's fun. But two, this man suffered 20 years of enslavement in Wano. He was waiting day after day for his friends to show back up, and he was the only person who waited. The people around him wanted to fight, and he saw many of his men die because of that, because they were tired of waiting. But Ashura Doji just had to keep on holding out to hope. And you're telling me that the month they show up, he dies? He never gets to see free Wano?
He was right. He
never got to see the daybreak? He didn't see the dawn? What do you mean?
If we think about,
oh God, don't get me started on Ashura Doji, dude. Oh man,
I just keep on going. If we really think about it, Sai's about to start drinking.
I was about to say, like, I might have to go get some alcohol after this.
Sai did the habitual Elbaf, lean brother. Down, grab a handle. That's what Sai did just now. He's just like, oh shit, it's not there anymore.
It's so funny that you pointed it out, but like, I went back to look at some of the earlier Parcasts, and I think for at least half of them, I was like vehemently drunk. I remember there was some Parcast where I was like, we got to end this, man. I got to hit the hay. I'm done.
Yeah. You definitely a lot more alive on these Parcast versus. But there's growth. People like character growth, just like they like in One Piece, and that's what we're largely complaining about. And I like to circle back to the whole thing too, like that's why Sai doesn't like the multi-island idea, right? Like even if we go Frog Land, Robin Land, whatever, and do all that stuff, like splitting them up, like Oda in Egghead showed his prowess in splitting up and showing a really alluring storyline, but then we get like Wano and you get the Scabbards, and like we don't want that. And like, not saying this about the Vegapunks, like I think the last tail end of Egghead did a lot of good for this the Vegapunks. Oh wow, 4 hour. The tail end of Egghead did a lot of good.
Oh, my camera's out,
the Vegapunks, but the middle part and the beginning part was kind of like they're like here, and we know that they're important, but how important? And like I think if you were one of those people that really wanted more Vegapunk stuff, I think that you would also be kind of disappointed by the end of Egghead, right? And that's a version where Oda took a character, split him up, and divided it up, and we don't know who to latch on to. We don't know who to like. A lot of people's fan favorite Shaka got murked, and then like all the rest died, and then we have Gagon now, and then they're back, and it's like it's cool. We don't really care, right? To a certain extent, like obviously we know good things are coming from that. It's cool. We're excited, but like I don't think anybody was like, the way we're talking about Ashura Doji, right? Like Ashura Doji, not just you, but a lot of people liked Ashura Doji. A lot of people liked the Scabbards, and I think that like the setup was there. Like we were with Kinemon for a decade, only for him to fall flat. And that was where my bias was like for me, I thought that Kinemon was a character that was better off dead, because like if he died, that would that would catalyze Momo to care about stuff. And like we talked about Momo in the last thing, like he is a ruler and he's doing things, but like he's also like what, like, you know what I mean? Like I think Kinemon dying against Kaido would have been like, yeah, now I'm gonna fight Kaido, now I'm gonna bite Kaido, now I'm gonna do this. You killed my dad, now you killed Kinemon, it's over, right? Like you would think that like the Momo that 2 months ago saw his dad, like, or heard his dad got executed, wouldn't need any motivation to now in dragon form fight Kaido and get over his fear, but Luffy had to like shock him into that. And I thought that Kinemon would be the perfect catalyst for that. And then at the end, like Yamato had to like baby Momo into like using his powers and figuring out, and he's like, oh, let's run. If Kinemon died, Momo would never say what he did there, right? Like if Kinemon died, he's like, no, we're standing on business, we're doing this, right? But that's the whole thing Yamato is saying. Yamato's just like, bro, do you know how many people's lives sacrificed getting up to this point? We're not backing down now. Like, it's not just the people on Onigashima, it's the 20 years. That's like basically what Yamato is saying. And so Kinemon death would have been great, and it's like for many reasons, it's like we're not gonna use him, and he's whatever, and what he shows up later, and it's like and you know, so there's a lot of things like that, but in a lot of ways, I don't feel like that will carry on to Elbaf. I feel like Elbaf is something that, like, even in this chapter, right? Like, there's things that Oda's focused on, and those things that he's focused on feels like it's been lined up for a long time. Like, even the lion thing. Like, we talked about this so many times already, but to add another thing, right? Shiki kidnapped Nami. In this thing, a lion, golden Shiki, lion kidnaps Nami, right? We don't know the kidnapping nuance, but kidnaps. Okay, that's one thing. And then also, like, we go to Wano. The first thing that Luffy sees is a lion cat, right? Like, and then when they go to Alabasta, the first thing that they see is a giant sea cat, right? Like, this cat lion motif is like also always there. I think with Fishman Island, the first thing they see is the lion fish thing, and then the giraffe fish, and then another thing, but a lionfish, right? Like, so there's always that lion that always shows up at the beginning, and like that's another thing. And then Nami's cat burglar. How deep does that part go, right? And I like that the kid route, right? Because that's why we went on the whole dying thing. Is like, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of things about Kid that just like line up with Elbaf. From, yeah, like, you know, a lot of people like, yeah, he's the red hair one-armed guy that like there can only be one of them, and it's Shanks, right? But the thing is, like, Shanks hasn't taken the tier role yet, and I know a lot of people tie the thing to Shanks, but it could be that like Kid takes that role.
It is tier.
Yeah, like that. And I said that like as a joke a little bit like on stream, but like the more I thought about it, I was like, that's like the perfect thing to do for Kid, like to give him that like come up of like this like storyline that it doesn't require Oda to do a lot to make him fit. He already looks it, he already fits it, like people will see it, and all he has to do is bring him back into the thing. And so like it's funny that you looked at the other Straw Hats on that scope, because on this panel and this stuff, this is kind of what like shocked my brain into realizing like something like the clothing is so, I think, important, because Nami doesn't remember when she changed clothes, and the other Straw Hats on the ship, they're in their normal clothes. And so to me, I think that tells me that, yeah, the Giants, their ship never made it here. Robin and them, they never made it here. The Straw Hats somehow got here all on their own, and that's how they got the clothes. And then that's kind of important too, because then that means that they have no inkling, and that's another detail that's substantiated by the other thing, that the people who are here, if they knew that Dory and Brogy were here, then they wouldn't question who could beat the lined up. So there's that 2 points that tells us that, yeah, the Straw Hats got here all on their own, and then somehow, and then the other part is they probably didn't come with Chopper. Chopper probably was separated like earlier, because they're not worried about Chopper. We don't know how awake, like Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro always wake up earlier than everybody else. They always recover earlier than everyone else. And so, but they don't seem specifically worried about Chopper, so they might not know anything about Chopper, right? And like Zoro needs to finding the sea, and our ship comes first. So they weren't with the ship. They don't know that, but they also finding the sea. That's also an interesting one too, because it's like that's the direction they need to go. Like Zoro thinks that like Zoro, Luffy, and Sanji have a little bit more information that tells them that like the rest of them aren't here. But there's small things like that, and but yeah, like this chapter was like low key, but then also like detail intensive. on like certain highlighting thing, and I think the clothes are one of them. That they look amazing.
Who has your favorite fit?
Zoro.
Zoro?
Yeah, actually, no. You brought up the shoulder pads, and I liked it less. But
It's the shoulder pads, man. I love Zoro's design. It's just the shoulder pads for me.
so I'd say Usopp then. Usopp
Usopp?
is the because Usopp would be my number one until when I got that panel with the glasses, the mask.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Zoro looks sick, and I liked it, and I was good, and then like. I don't know, not something was off. I didn't pay attention as much. You said the shoulder pads, and I'm like, it's not great. Luffy's is like normal, and then Sanji's looks cool. I like Sanji's. It's just that Usopp had the biggest delta. He had the biggest glow up. I feel like, and it's not even that crazy because it's like the same pants. It's just striped now, and then on top of that, he just looks good. He looks. It looks like this is what his character always should have looked like in a lot of ways, which makes sense. Which kind of it kind of feels like Oda made Usopp, and for Elbaf, and then he started him off by just erasing the beard, like, and then the rest of him.
Yeah,
it's like a partial character.
Which we talked about like good timelines versus bad timelines earlier, and with Usopp, in all of his bad timelines, he has like a massive beard.
Oh,
so it kind of makes me wonder: is Usopp in his bad timeline right now? Like, if he keeps on going down this road, which obviously it's a fake beard, it's not like real, so it could just be like a meme or a gag. It could also be a call back to like Captain Usopp, where captains usually have beards, so it's like a kind of like a play on that.
Yeah,
but yeah, like
I think that about
though,
Frankie
it's a lot
too.
of fun.
I think that about Frankie because Frankie's on the bad timeline. He's continuously becoming more robotic.
More robotic, yeah.
Versus in his good timeline, it looks like the pre-time skip Frankie, just older.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
and for me, I think my favorite one is Luffy. I love the helmet he has. I think the helmet sells me. Because, well, not just that, but like the cape he has too. It kind of reminds me of Kaido's cape. Right? Like Kaido had that black feathery cape. Like Luffy has that here. He also has the helmet, which it reminds me of Kaido too, like the Oni horns, but also it reminds me of a beetle. I think that's the main part, right? Like Luffy loves beetles. That has been a thematic all throughout One Piece. People they're hard pressed when I say this, but there was even a gag where Luffy didn't know if he wanted the One Piece or a beetle more. Like that is how much this guy loves beetles. It's crazy. Like if you saw Luffy on a playground, you think he's one of the weird kids. But yeah, like that's why I'm really digging the design. Luffy number 1. I think I'd put Sanji number 2, and then Zoro number 3. I love Zoro's design, but man, those shoulder pads really stick out. I just can't ignore them. But yeah. Overall, Elbaf designs are going hard.
Yeah. Nami's is just that's unrankable. This is like this is there. Yeah, Nami would have looked good.
Not bad.
Though.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, you can't look bad per se.
It's just Nami.
Yeah, the only way you could look better is just like Perona, right? But yeah,
I mean that's
it's like a tier of its own.
Yeah.
I'm glad you
Nami
agree.
and Robin, they would just like it's any outfit is fine, right? Like honestly, the Oda would have to try to put them in an ugly outfit, right?
Yeah, which even then it might just still be appealing.
Yeah, exactly.
So
there might be more to it.
Here, okay, last thing, but Zoro's talking about going to the sea first, right? Zoro has the worst sense of direction. There's a chance that they don't go to the sea. Like I could imagine them trying to go to the sea, but they end up somewhere else entirely, or maybe they find a town or like a city while looking for the sea. Like where do you think their next stop is on Elbaf? Or here's a better question too. Do you think we're going to spend time with these Straw Hats or go back to the other Straw Hats, or a mixture of both? I know you held a poll when we did the stream together, and it was pretty, I think people wanted to stick with the 6 right here, or sorry, the 5 right here. I included Chopper by accident. But yeah, like, how do you feel personally? Where do you want to go?
Yeah, I never answered it myself, I guess. But yeah, a lot of people, I think it was like 60% said stick with here and then go back. The thing is, when we like leave the Straw Hats, it's not like I'm trying to remember, but it's not like aimless, right? So like with Robin and group, they're looking for the Straw Hats, but at the point that we left them at, there's no direction. And that's where it's weird. I feel like Oda is more likely to give us some more direction about where they're going. Um and then like and leave it mysterious and then stick with the Straw Hat. So it might be kind of like at the beginning of Egghead, except less compact, where at the beginning of Egghead, it was like this Luffy, Jinbei, Chopper got separated with Bonnie, and then we stuck with them in the city for a little bit, and then and I say compacted because like yeah, the Straw Hats are all going to one place, which this time it might not be the case, but the Straw Hats then did that, and then they I forget which chapter it was, but I think it was like 1060, end of 1064 or 5 or beginning of 1065. Like the other Straw Hats got flown to Labo phase, and when they met like Shaka, that's when the Straw Hats met Stella, and so like it's a whole thing where we left the Zoro and them like, oh, they're facing a Vegapunk. They were the first one to meet them, but then they were also like, are we fighting? Are we not? So it's like, but we know a direction, sort of like, okay, they're with a Vegapunk, right? And then we go to Luffy and they're on an island. They figure out it's Vegapunk Island, but then they're just exploring. They're kind of doing things. And then it wasn't until they met Stella that they had a direction. And then once that group got the direction, we met back up and we collided with both groups. And so I feel like it's going to be similar to that, where we stick with this group that's like figuring out the direction on here, right? Because they don't know the crew either, and they don't know what they're doing here. And then the other Straw Hats are probably going to get some kind of like memory or something to figure out what their plan was or what they needed to do, which is why they're not with the Straw Hats. Or they're going to figure out some inkling, like you were saying, like towards an idea that either misguides them or puts them on the right direction. And we leave them off with that and then stick with these Straw Hats. And then it'll maybe, if it's that way, then it would be these Straw Hats meeting up with the other Straw Hats then, I guess. I don't know. But the one thing that I would put in, because like you were theorizing about what the Robin and their crew does afterwards and like how they find Luffy and stuff. And my version of that was that like the one person who should have been sober is Kuma, because he's a robot. So I don't see him getting hopped up on absinthe like that or hallucinating.
Imagine they pour down his throat though.
Yeah, and the thing is, even if they did that, it's like I'm pretty sure he's like he had like none of like he's a like 100% robot apparently, and so I don't know how that would work, but like he has record, like even if he's drunk, he could record, like and we know that the pacifistas and like things can record, like they take battle data and stuff like that. Like that was the whole thing why Kobe had the seraphims, is like we need to record all this stuff and blah blah, and you know Vegapunk takes the battle data. So I wouldn't be surprised if like Kuma is a way to give the Straw Hats whether a real direction towards where the Straw Hats are or not. But I referenced the Hangover, and I went back and I remembered, or everyone is referencing the Hangover in this regard, obviously, which is funny because in the Hangover there was a tiger that they woke up to, and Nami woke up to a lion. But the thing was, I remembered it correctly. Mike Tyson did show them the footage in the Hangover movie, and what happened was they were trying to find their friend. One of their friends, I forgot his name, Duke or something like that, or Dan or something like that, Dave, I think maybe. And so they're trying to find this guy, and the whole like first half of the movie is trying to find him, and they were like following this thing, and then they ended up like to a drug dealer, and he was just like, "Wait, you're not Dave." And then they were like, they found the wrong person, just like you were saying. Like they were chasing after like they thought that this person was Dave just by name. And so, like, just like you were saying with the Jinbei thing, like, oh wait, the guy who ate a ship, blah blah blah, strong guy, blah blah blah, and then they think it's Luffy, and then they find out it's not Luffy, and then they're like, wait, what? And so that's why I really like your idea, because I remember that from the Hangover movie. But then the other part is, once that happened, then like Mike Tyson showed them security footage of the hotel, of when they were drunk and how they got the tiger or lion or whatever. And what they see is they return to the hotel with their friend. So their friend was with them. So they were like, wait, what? We had the friend the whole time. So he's at the hotel. He's not that far off. And then they realize like, yo, we put him on the rooftop. and he was like sunburned on the roof. And so like they went up there and he was on a mattress on the roof. And that's the part that I was saying, like the footage that they got from the hotel room, that Mike Tyson just got that. That was like super easy thing. And that's the equivalent here. They have a living robot that can give them the footage, and they might chase after the kid thing that you were talking about, which is why I really like it. And then they later on are like, wait, why don't we just check Kuma? And then they see like, oh, haha, Kuma pawpawed them, or they used the coup de burr and they flew on to another island or something like that. Or anything like that, right? And then that would give them a better inkling. It might not tell them exactly where they are, but the Giants might be able to be like, we were this close. They probably just got to the island or something like that from here, and they might be able to figure it out. So that's kind of, this is very interesting. So that's kind of how I feel about the Straw Hats come into play. And so if that's the case, I think we're sticking with the Straw Hats. I think I like your theory and I like my theory. I think we combine them. We stick with the Straw Hats, maybe get some off Elbaf a little bit update maybe, and then these Straw Hats, and then a tidbit of the other Straw Hats maybe, and then we stick through with these Straw Hats.
Yep, I could totally see it. Overall, great chapter. Love to see it. We're finally in Elbaf after, I think somebody did the math, it was like 20 plus years. But yeah, this is great, man. And also, one more thing, people have been pointing out that this might be like a hallucination. One more thing I want to address. They say that this is definitely a fake Luffy because he doesn't want to eat the cat. They're like, oh, the real Luffy would never turn down food. That's like, I mean, the animals here are kind of huge. If he already ate like a giant-sized rabbit, I think he's good.
Yeah. Yeah, he even says that. The roast rabbit earlier was tasty enough.
Yeah, and people are saying that the real Luffy would just eat it anyways. That's like, and it's not like then they're serious too. It's not like a joke. So it's like, I don't know, man.
Interesting.
The error cult is growing. I mean, maybe they're right. Maybe, come 2 weeks, I'm gonna look like a buffoon here. But I really don't think it's hallucination, man. There's no way.
Yeah. They ate the sand lizard, that would be breaking the parallel here, which they didn't eat this one. But I think cats are just probably different, right? Like Oda's
cats are different. Plus, like, they already ate the rabbit, which is another thing, right? Like, they already just ate. And plus, like, if this was a hallucination, like, everything they're saying is just, I don't know, it's too in character.
Yeah, I guess. If we go back to 162, they ate the lizard. Maybe they come across another. Like, do they come across the banana alligator? And then Luffy's like, I'm full from the Sandora lizard. Maybe that's a thing. And like, so there's an example there. Because I'm just remember, I like, yeah, Luffy wouldn't turn it down, but also like he just wrote like all of Wano was him befriending a giant cat lion thing. He didn't eat that one. You know what I mean? He does like, oh, that looks tasty, but like he didn't say, like, maybe if it was still a lion, he'd eat it, but a cat, you know what I mean? Because it's like, the heck, it turned into a cat. Maybe he doesn't eat cats and dogs, right? Like, he's just, he's like on Ruskina, did he threaten the lion with eating it? I think he might have.
I think he did.
But, like, yeah. So, like, maybe he does, or maybe it's a cat and dog thing. Maybe, like, he's not going up to Shushu and being like, yo, I'm going to eat you. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't do that.
Yeah, they did eat the Sandora lizard in 162.
Yeah, so then after that, after they eat the lizard, do they come across another animal and Luffy's like, I'm not hungry?
I'm looking. It doesn't look like they come across another animal. They hit a town right after. Which, hey, they hit the town of Rebels in 163. So I do think they will, which I guess, if the giants, or quote, giants here are dwarves, then this could be like the town of Rebels in a way.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be bad. Oh, and that's where 163 is where they meet Toto. Oh, that old man.
Toto's was the doctor guy?
No. Toto's he's the guy who's like digging for water in a spring.
Oh.
Yeah, and then Crocodile sends a tornado to him every day at like 12 o'clock. That's crazy, so funny, man. Dude, that's still so funny to me.
Yeah.
Crocodile said, it's that time of the day. Time to mess up Toto's life. Send that man a tornado. He made progress? All right, stop it. Kick him to the slammer. Yeah. Oh, dude. But yeah, with that being said, though, do you have anything to end off on, or do you want to call it here? How you feeling? Any last thing you want to bring up?
I have like 3 videos that are hopefully short, but yeah, one of them I explained in here. like you're saying, like a lot of people are talking about the giants thing. They're not giants. I substantiate that. But to go a step further, I would say that like the tree, the roots, that's what's creating this land, and the dwarves are living. These are dwarves, and I'm doubling down that the clothes and the dwarves, like they're probably connected in one way or the other. But it is interesting because like it feels like the Strawhats didn't like talk to the dwarves, or the dwarves didn't talk to them. But
we need a better name than dwarves, because the Tontatas are called dwarves too.
Well, they are. Tontatas aren't like, they're not translated as dwarves, right? They're the little people, right?
Let me see.
Because
I believe it is dwarves.
Let me see. Do they call themselves dwarves?
I don't know. I think they.
You know what's
do.
actually kind of crazy though? The Tontatas, if these are dwarves, it would actually make a lot of sense because
they're Tontatas, but they are classified as a dwarven race.
A dwarven race is kind of crazy.
Yeah, so it's a whole ass race. So yeah, it literally is dwarves. Usopp talked about them in reference. So Usopp initially talked about them in like what chapter? Whenever he got like introduced, like chapter 30 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like Usopp called them dwarves too.
Dwarves is I think dwarves is kind of crazy because like again the nuance of dwarves is wild, but we also know Big Mom had a dwarf husband guy concubine, and the like how do you giant and Tontata, would it make the people on this island? I don't know, but like we also know that the Tontatas came from a different land. Also, we do know this. They're not native to Greenbit. They're not native to Dressrosa. They're from somewhere else that they were driven out of for resources, actually. It could be that one of the places, like it was an Elbaf thing. It could be that. And also because the Tontatas are like super cracked. Like people forget this, but they're super powered. They're like insanely powerful and super strong. And they're tiny, but they're like Ant-Man from like Marvel. Like their tininess is like reverse proportional to their strength, because they just have like the strength of like triple what they would have normal size. I don't know, but the reason why the Tontata, like the dwarves and these people being dwarves, is because Zoro got acquainted with them because they were known as fairies, and the Straw Hats got here with the Green Fairy, and like that's kind of interesting when you think about it.
And the Tontata tribe, they live in Greenbit, so yeah.
There's
a lot here. I mean, it could be like a giant Tontata hybrid. I think that'd be good. Because there's the Tontata human hybrid. So
right, and that's what I mean by like dwarves. And going back to just, I think, a good closing off thing. Like I love, like a lot of people like Norse mythology, but it's also I think personally, I think it's less popular because it's less, not strict, but like Oda says this too. It's like there's not much that we know about that stuff because it's not as written down and et cetera, et cetera. There's not a lot of like, it's not as researched and able to like fact checked as well as like a Greek mythos and stuff like that, which is why like Greek mythology is super popular. But the thing is, a lot of the Norse mythology and Greek mythology blend because they're both European stuff, and there was things that like you can look back at, like even Noah's Ark. It goes to like there's a Greek version, there's a Norse version, and the reality is that the Noah one like is probably related / stemmed off of those ones, and so they're all correlated. But the Norse mythology usually is just like Thor and Odin, and that's why the dwarf stuff is like it's super free to do. I think not super free. There's a lot of flexibility with it, right? Like whereas like the Percy Jackson series, right? Like the moment you skew off of the hard and tried path of all the years of people creating stories off of Greek history, Greek mythology, people are like, well, that's not what Athena's like. That's not what Hades is like. Oda can't like in their words bastardize like the mythos as hard, which it kind of is with the ancient weapons, but with the Norse mythology, there's a lot of flexibility, and Marvel kind of got away with it. A lot of people are like, oh, it sucks that Marvel like popularized it because it gives people a misunderstanding about a lot of things, how it worked and functioned, and Thor this and Odin this and Loki that. But like, but yeah, there's Norse mythology is really really cool and it's really fun. And then Vikings are just really cool, and those are all the things that Oda kind of like loves. And yeah, there's just like so much with because a lot of their stuff comes in the poems, and there's so much flexibility in how you decipher the poems. Like it's so like, and the thing is, Oda references a lot of poems actually. Like at least I'm saying a lot of poems, but I'm saying that because like I think 2 or 3 times he like literally put the title of a poem in like the chapter title, or Brooke says it or something like that. But also he writes these lyrics to these songs that are like kind of poetic in a lot of ways, and probably with a lot of double entendres, triple entendres, a lot of things that we kind of look back at. And that's Norse mythology feels like that too. With like I talked about in the Elbaf video how when they talk about the snake, the water snake, that could just be a current, and we know that that's kind of a current because they reference the rivers as snakes too. And then so then when you're talking about like Jormungandr and stuff like that, that might be just the giant current that is in the One Piece world, and that could explain why so many of the stories revolve around like riding the that. I think I forget who wrote it, but they rode Jormungandr or whatever it is. That's the story of it. And they were able to make it. They were like very successful because they were able to ride the currents and tame the snakes or whatever it is. And so there's a lot of double entendres and triple entendres, like venom. Venom in the thing could mean poison. It could also mean salt water. Because they referenced venom and poison in one of the poems, but then they also said it's like brine, and brine is salt, like super concentrated salt water, or salt water without the water part technically. And so it's like these poems are like Oda's bag. This is like the closest thing to Japanese like comedy and poem in the first place too. That's why Japanese is such a cool language in the first place, because the katakana, kanji, we're seeing Oda to put in like 6 different meanings in one word, and that's because that's how the language is structured. Shi means for death. It can mean so many different things. It's Luffy's laugh. And that's just one word, and that's the entire language. But then similarly, the Vikings, Norse mythology, Scandinavian history in general, there's a lot of entryways to play with that. And I think Oda's 100%, 100,000% gonna be so in his bag.